Did you see the other one?
Hello. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Infinite Podcast. Wow, what a morning, right? I mean night for you guys, but I woke up to what the hell is going on? What the hell is going on at Xbox? This is absolutely crazy. We're going to get into this stuff, but before we do, Donte, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How is things until this happened?
Things could always be worse.
Can they?
Yeah, trust me, things can always be worse. I'm happy to be here. We'll just start with that. Hello, everybody.
Holly, how was your week? How's things? What's been going
on? It's been a heck of a week, and this just put the little cherry on top. Yeah. But,
yeah,
I'm here. I'm here.
That
is an accomplishment in itself.
Exactly, Holly. That's where we're at right now.
Yep.
We're here, and that's an accomplishment within itself.
We are here. And so obviously, if you guys didn't know, I had a whole plan to talk about the PlayStation Direct, PlayStation's State of Play, by the way, which was, I thought, really good. But we can get into that later if we make it there. I think we're definitely going to talk about what's going on at Xbox. So, yeah, unbelievably, Phil has retired. There was rumors about this way back, I think in 2024 showcase, about Phil retiring. And that's about the time that he apparently spoke to Satya. So that did leak out. I gotta start taking some of these rumors a little bit more seriously when I hear them. Anywho, so up until this point, until I just sat down in front of the computer, ready to sort of set up the show, Sarah hadn't said anything. So if you don't know, Phil has retired, and an AI slot merchant named Asha Sharma. She's probably not an AI slot merchant, but Asha. Have I just lost my camera? God, damn it!
We'll deal with that. You want to start? Is that the way you want to start with a brand new person?
Well, what you mean?
Yeah, let's not.
We
don't know nothing about her. She might be legit.
All right. I'm just being a little bit negative because
let's go with the sentiment.
I love Phil.
What?
Team Phil.
Yeah. It's not her fault that Phil's leaving. It might be Satya's fault, but it's not her fault. She's just taking the opportunity, And if you're given an opportunity for a better job, then you take it too. So I don't think any shade needs to go to her just yet.
Okay. All right. We'll wait and see what she does. It's fair. I'll take that on the chin and under advisement. And I'm sorry, Mo, because that probably would have made him angry. Anyone who's running Xbox is God. So I have to defer. Anyway, so Asha Sharma's sort of stepping in, is stepping in as CEO. Matt Booty's been promoted up to the number 2 as executive vice president. There's some obviously a bit of a shock about this because Sarah Bond has walked out the door, and up until this moment, just before I sat down, I hadn't seen anything from Sarah. But look, let's go through what was said. We'll go through the messaging. I'll read the verbatim so that everyone is on the same page about what's been said, what's been happening, and then we could jump into it. So Satya Nadella's message to the team was: gaming has been part of Microsoft from the start. Flight Simulator shipped before Windows, and you can practically ray trace. I like that, by the way. That was a good line. You can practically ray trace a line from DirectX in the 90s to the accelerated compute era we're in today. As we celebrate Xbox's 25th year, the opportunity and innovation agenda in front of us is expansive. Today, we reach over 500 million monthly active users and are a top publisher across all platforms and continue to innovate across gaming, hardware, content, and community in service of creators and players anywhere. I am long on gaming and its role. I think AI wrote this. There's some definite grammatical issues. Holly, you're tip-tapping. I am long on gaming and its role at the center of our consumer ambition as we look ahead. I'm excited to share that Asha Sharma will become Executive Vice President and CEO, Microsoft Gaming, reporting to me. Over the last 2 years at Microsoft and previously as Chief Operating Officer at Instacart and Vice President at Meta, Asha has helped build and scale services that reach billions of people and support thriving consumer and developer ecosystems. She brings deep experience building with growing platforms, aligning business models to long-term value and operating at global scale, which will be critical in leading our gaming business into its next era of growth. Matt Booty will become Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer, reporting to Asher. Matt's career reflects a lifelong commitment to games and to the people who make them. Under his leadership, Microsoft Gaming has grown to span nearly 40 studios across Xbox, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, King, which are home to beloved franchises such as we all know them. I'm not going to go through them. But he did note Candy Crush. Together, Asher and Matt have the right combination of consumer product leadership and gaming depth to push our platform innovation and content pipeline forward. Last year, Phil Spencer made the decision to retire from the company. And since then, we've been talking about a succession plan. I want to thank Phil for his extraordinary leadership and partnership over the 38 years. I, Riskit, would also like to thank Phil for screwing that. No, I'm kidding. Over the 38 years at Microsoft, including 12 years leading gaming, Phil helped transform what we do and how we do it. He expanded our reach across PC, mobile, cloud, nearly tripled the size of the business, helped shape our strategy through the acquisitions. That's how I know he's using AI, man. He put a semicolon there. Using AI, Satya. Helped shape our strategy through the acquisitions of Activision and Blizzard, ZeniMax, Minecraft, another semicolon, AI, and strengthened our culture across our studios and platforms. I've long admired Phil's unwavering commitment to players, creators, and his team, and I'm personally grateful for his leadership and counsel. He will continue working closely with Asher to ensure a smooth transition.
Do you not know English? Semicolons are supposed to be properly used in English.
Nah, no one uses semicolons.
I use semicolons.
Say nothing.
Oh, then everyone thinks that you use AI. We have extraordinary creative talent across our studios and global platforms.
Turn on your camera so I can ridicule you to your face.
That is second. I got to fix my camera. That is second to none. I'm excited for how we will capture the opportunity ahead and define what comes next while staying grounded in what players and creators value. Please join me in congratulating Asher. Whatever. I'll congratulate them later. Phil Spencer, this is going to be a bit to get through, but I want to read through this so everyone's on the same page, right? Because if you guys haven't read this in the chat, it's important that you know what is happening. What is happening to Xbox? What is happening? When I walked that, there's going to be crying in your car memes now. There's going to be, someone's going to clip that, and it's going to go on. Yeah, straight up. When I walked through Microsoft doors as an intern in June of 1988, I was 8 years old when he walked through the doors. I could never have imagined the products I'd helped build. I'm only 20 now. The players and customers we'd serve or the extraordinary teams I'd be lucky enough to join. It's an epic ride and truly the privilege of a lifetime. Last fall, I shared with Satya that I was thinking about stepping back and starting a new chapter in my life. From that moment, I hope his new chapter in his life is doing what old mate from PlayStation does and like coming back with interviews, absolutely stomping on No, I'm kidding. I hope he doesn't do that, Mo. Don't get upset. Take the caps lock off, bro. Take it off. Last fall, I shared with Satya to step back into a scheduled chapter. Well, from that moment, we aligned on approaching this transition with intention, ensuring stability and strengthening the foundation we built. Xbox has always been more than a business. It's a vibrant community of players, creators, and teams who care deeply about what we build and how we build it. And it deserves a thoughtful, deliberate plan for the road ahead. Today marks an exciting, this is how you don't AI. You know, I can tell this is from Phil's heart. Satya, slot. Today marks an exciting new chapter from Microsoft Gaming as Asher Sharma steps into the role of CEO, and I want to be the first to welcome her to this incredible team while stabbing Sarah in the back. No, he didn't write that. Working with her over the past several months has given me tremendous confidence. She brings a genuine curiosity, clarity, and deep commitment to understanding our players, creators, and decisions that shape our future. I don't know how she can do that. She plays games, plays AI. I mean, she's lovely. She's great. Holly, taken under advisement. We know that this is an important moment for our fans, partners, and teams. We're committed to getting it right, and I'll remain in an advisory role through the summer to support a smooth handoff. I'm also grateful for the strength of our studio's organization. Matt Booty and our studio teams continue to build an incredible portfolio, and I have full confidence in his leadership and creative momentum across our global studios. I want to congratulate Matt on his promotion to EVP with Chief Content Officer. Wearing two hats, man. Matt Booty is always wearing the hats, bruh. As part of this transition, Sarah Bond has decided to leave Microsoft because you fucked her over. Sarah has been instrumental in defining a period for Xbox, shaping our platform strategy, expanding Game Pass, cloud gaming, and supporting new hardware launches and guiding some of the most significant moments in our history. I'm grateful for her partnership and the impact she's had, and I wish her the very best in what comes next. That's because you're a good guy, Phil. Very good guy. Most of all, to everyone in the Microsoft gaming community, I want to say thank you. It's an Xbox gaming community, Phil. I'll never forgive you for that. I've learned so much from this team and community growing alongside you, and have been continually inspired by the creative courage and care that you bring to players, creators, and to one another every day. I'm incredibly proud of what we built together over the last 25 years, and I have complete confidence in all of you and in the opportunities ahead. I'll be cheering you on in this next chapter as Xbox's proudest fan and player. XBL P3. Okay. All right. That's a lot. Hang on.
What?
What happened?
Did something happen today?
We've got Sharma's message.
What are we talking about, people? Did something happen today?
So we've got Sharma's message, but I want to talk a little bit about that. But I also want to give Sarah just dropped a message as well, like pretty recently. Would you believe? So, what did he say? What did he say?
No, sorry, Magnum. Magnum said Phil should go over to Prize Picks and steal Mike Ibarra's job. Sorry, that got me.
You're so good. That'd be
That's funny.
Okay, so Sarah Bond says, sharing with gratitude the note I sent to my team today. Grateful to our players, developers, partners, and team. Forever a fan of Xbox. Hi, team. I know there's a lot of news to take in today. I'm incredibly proud of what we have built together over the past 8 years plus. PC and cloud gaming are growing faster than ever. Our next console is well underway. And together, we've helped lay the foundation for a more open gaming platform that spans devices and reaches players around the world. When we announced our intention to acquire Activision Blizzard in 2022, I committed to helping lead Xbox through what would be a critical period of change. Over the past 4 years, we've navigated that moment together and positioned the business for what comes next. We took on some of the biggest challenges this organization has ever faced and did it as one team. With that, I've decided this is the right time for me to take my next step, both personally and professionally. We're living through a transformative technological era that will shape the next generation of our industry, and I'm energized by what's ahead. This moment also presents a unique opportunity for fresh eyes, new leadership to guide the team into this next chapter. I've had the privilege of spending time with Asha over the last few weeks, and we've planned for this transition. I've seen firsthand her deep commitment to our players, developers, and brand. She brings deep technological and commerce experience along with a strong track record of building and scaling platforms the world uses. Xbox deserves this. I'm excited to see her lead this next chapter for our team. I'll remain on as a special advisor to Asha to help ensure a smooth transition and set the organization up for continued success. I want to thank Phil for his mentorship and his friendship over the years. He's been a consistent champion of the business and the people who make it what it is. I've learned a great deal from the way he leads through both opportunity and challenge. I'm grateful for his trust, his support throughout my time on the team, and I also want to thank Satya for his sponsorship and support throughout my time at Microsoft. As I prepare to sign off, I've been reflecting on 3 simple questions I've tried to use to guide my days. Did I bring my best? Did I help someone else succeed? And did I do my best work? I hope the answer has been yes for many of you. It's been a privilege to work alongside this team. Always, Sarah. I don't know. This is so Donte, you had a really good take, and I do want to jump to you because I think it was really well thought out, and I probably am not quite as well thought out because just woken up, trying to soak it all in. There's been a lot of changes, so I very much feel like that Sarah was Team Phil and is on Team Phil, and obviously because Phil's sort of moving on, I think Satya never had Sarah in mind for that transition up to the next role, which is unfortunate. But that's what we all thought. As you said, Donte, the heir apparent. And I feel like as Team Phil moves out, Asha moves in. I always do feel like Booty's sort of good at playing this sort of corporate game of sort of working, is navigating his way through the changes. There has been many changes in Booty's tenure. Yeah, I don't know. There's still a lot to take in. Donte, how's all this hitting with you?
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe also we had it wrong. What I mean by that is like, maybe the whole time we were thinking that like this was a situation for her being set up as the heir apparent, and maybe that we were just projecting that onto what was really going on. I'm still a little bit puzzled as to the timing of this. Someone posted an article from last July where Xbox was like, Phil isn't retiring anytime soon. That was just last July, and then all of a sudden, like this kind of happens. So I'm hoping like it's him retiring on his own terms and not necessarily him being pushed out, because like the last revenue numbers, obviously the services, which is where they make a lot of their money from, like was down some, right? So you have that. Obviously a lot of that's due to ABK and what COD is or is not doing. But then like so you have that, and then you have the hardware has been kind of taking losses for the last several years, obviously, and I'm hoping like that didn't kind of accelerate his timeline in terms of what he wanted to do. But the part that I really find weird about this, so like none of us are really surprised about Phil. We kind of saw that he had been wanting to retire for a little bit, or he was eyeing the exit, right? But yeah, we were all assuming that like it made sense, since we were seeing a lot of Sarah being kind of like the face of speaking events and for interviews and whatnot, that she was going to be the next person to kind of be the heir apparent and step in line. And it kind of just it came across today as if like his retirement gets announced and then she resigns, even though the statement says that she's going to stay on for like an advisory capacity. I think even Phil's is doing something similar. It does kind of feel like someone else got the job that we all felt that she was being groomed for. What makes it even weirder too is that in all of the kind of messages for people kind of doing their congratulatories and like saying goodbye and all that stuff, Phil's the only one who really mentioned her. Satya has a very, very long post that he put out thanking Phil and welcoming in Asha and all that. No mention of Sarah once within that whole long tweet that he put out. So it gives the impression that like, okay, so she was Phil. Phil was like, hey, I think this is the next person in line who I would want to replace me, and that the company had different ideas. I'm not going to get to anything negative about Asha. I wish the best for her. This could end up turning around and being something disruptive that maybe a new fresh pair of eyes and leadership does something different to kind of get the brand back into a more of a positive light. But it seems I'm a little apprehensive, considering that you're going to someone who it doesn't someone doesn't have to necessarily love gaming, right? You don't have to be like the person who definitively loves that particular job to be successful at it, right? You just got to have to be able to be competent to understand what the business is that you're doing and to how to properly motivate people and have a clear strategy, right? But it definitely helped to have someone, especially in gaming. I think gaming's like this weird type of industry where some passion for it goes a long way. You know what I'm saying? Like the fans pick up on that more so than I think almost any other industry. So you're bringing in someone who, for the most part, her tenures are pretty short at most of the companies that she's been in, but she's been successful at these companies, but her tenures are short. So it's kind of like, are we only getting her for a few years? Is she going to be a 2 to 3 years? Let me see what I can do. And if I get the numbers up, then I'm out, and then it's on to the next person. Is this just like a corporate ladder kind of escalation thing for her? Or if there's really passion there? And I think that's what we're losing with Phil, is we're concerned as to are we losing someone who's really passionate about the role. So, the PR message that she put out, and let's be honest, it's PR, but that's what you got to do, especially with this type of a seismic change. It hit all the right notes, right? Especially a concern for someone coming from the AI side of the business to be like, okay, are you guys trying to implement that into gaming? And she, clearly states that the focus is on the human creators and that she has no patience for AI slop. So that's good. It's hitting the notes, and it mentions even talk about like Xbox being bringing Xbox back and the focus and dedication to console, so on and so forth. So it's saying all the right things, right? The question is how are you going to be able to really deliver it? And that's the part that's going to make or break the brand, in my opinion, right? It's like if you're bringing someone in who isn't going to be passionate about this thing for at least 5 to 10 years, what's going to happen to the brand, or is it officially dead if they don't get the result that they want in 2 to 3 years for her stewardship. So yeah, I mean, I really wish Microsoft would have been a little bit better in terms of their some of their comments, or not comments, or lack thereof comments, for at least for Sarah. I think that's the one part of all this that seems a little bit weird. It definitely seems like someone else got the job that you've been eyeing and thought you were pretty much set up for, and that this is your abrupt end. And it doesn't feel any better when the boss, the CEO of your company, doesn't say anything about you basically resigning, even though you've been working hand in hand with Phil for years. So that's the part about this that I've been scratching my head on.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why I was sort of saying, I think that it's Phil that's, Team Sarah and Sarah's Team Phil, and then one exits and one goes with, I don't know. Holly, how are you feeling today?
I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that have opinions about Phil, his leadership, and I respectfully don't really want to hear it because my thought really is that I think that it did you pull up Peter Moore's statement?
No.
Did you read his statement? His statement was really nice, and one of the points that he points out, and I will defend this. I mean, Phil's just a good dude. We've met him. He's nice. The rare thing about Phil is that he's a gamer, right? And being a CEO doesn't require you to be a user of a product. You could still be a good business CEO. But the reason that the community around Xbox was so tight is because Phil did his best as a gamer to also make it more consumer friendly, because he knows what it was like to be a consumer on the other side, right? And so one of the things that Peter Moore brought up is the fact that in this industry, especially tech, but in this industry, you don't stay in high level positions like that for tremendous lengths of time, right? Usually move around, and that's for a variety of reasons. I really don't know why you did that, but
you said tremendous length, but anyway.
Okay. So, anyway, so he was here for, as the head of Xbox for over a decade, right? He was the head for that long. I disagree with Donte in that I think that right now it's a surprise that he's leaving. I don't think the timing on this really lines up and makes a ton of sense as of right now. It is the 25th anniversary, and I wouldn't have been surprised if he had left this year, but I guess in my mind, I really thought that he would have waited to announce the next box and then maybe dipped out, right? Here's the next generation. Here's the culmination of where we've been going. We know it's been a struggle. We know that since 2013 with the Xbox One that, we've been down and out, and as the end of, my legacy, I'm bringing you the most open platform that brings all of these options to you to play games in more ways than you've ever been able to play, to access all of these things. We've brought an open system to you, brought it to you, to your living room. And with that, we're also bringing in, and then Asha or whoever, right, would have been, and kind of taken the brunt, because we all know, right, that launch announcement and the launch of the next console, right, it could be real tricky. It could be the death knell, right, for a lot of people. Don Matrick, but
you don't fully disagree with me, because I'm in the same vein as you, because I said last July they were saying that he had no plans to retire.
Yeah. Well, yes.
This is happening kind of shortly after that report, that earnings report, right, where it says that the services numbers were down. So I think what I was saying was that we're less shocked about Phil because rumors had been around for a while that eventually he was going to retire, right? But more shocked about the fact that it happens and then Sarah resigns, right? But
well, yeah.
I think we're
So
more.
Sarah's the wild card in all of this, right?
Yeah.
I do disagree with you a little bit. I think Riskit said it, where you said that Phil and Sarah were kind of like simpatico, kind of together. But I think we've all kind of known, right, that Sarah Bond was the one that actually pushed for the multi-platform strategy. She's the one that really went, gung-ho on making games available everywhere and not just, keeping the exclusivity track moving. And again, when everybody talks about this stuff and they get mad and they rage about why didn't this person do this or why didn't this person do that, none of you have any idea what's actually happening behind the scenes. We all have bosses, and it's like sometimes people forget what it's like to have a boss, right? Like, this is your hobby, I get it, but this is their job, their livelihood, maybe their hobby too, right? But this is their job. They have a boss. Even Satya has a boss. It's the board, right? So, like, you don't know 100% of the time where all of these things are coming from, right? So anyway, so with Sarah, I think there was a little bit of a difference in opinion, I think, on the exclusivity strategy, but they had to take it and they had to run with it because of, I think, Microsoft Overlord having some plans, right? That profit needed to drive better, et cetera, which we've all been over 1,012 times.
Let's go over it again.
I am surprised that I'm not surprised she's leaving, in the sense that if she didn't get Phil's job, that she would have stuck around. I think it makes sense, right? If you have been sort of trailing somebody and everybody's been kind of like, oh, this person's going to take over eventually, that you would assume, right? But so it's no surprise that she would leave, considering that she didn't get the job. But it is surprising that they did move in another direction. So I don't know, this Asha person, she came out with some great speech, she said all these new things. Like, the super interesting thing that she said was the return of Xbox. That's probably the most interesting thing that she said in her speech, or in her note. She's in a lot of responses on Twitter right now, going through and like replying to Xbox and saying, should we bring Black Blades? And then some other things, right? She's doing a lot of fan service out there right now. And she's got a really good PR team on her Twitter account doing a lot of the right stuff. But, it doesn't really matter what you say right now. What I think...
Will you deliver?
And what we can glean from this happening at this moment in time, and Phil kind of, hanging around for a few months to help with the transition, is that something big is coming. Something big is coming, because I don't think Phil would have left right now at the time that he is. I think he would have waited a few more months or a little bit longer. I think this is a sort of an abrupt push. Asha is coming from the Copilot or the AI teams, the core AI team at Microsoft, which is about 4,000 employees, to 20 to 22,000 employees in the Xbox division. So this is a big jump for her. It's a big, it's a big up. I don't know, man. I there's something major coming, and whatever it is, we'll have to see. I personally think the next console is safe. I don't think they're going to be canceling that again, right? You never know.
Into development at this point. All, you know what I'm saying?
That's, yeah.
If you're looking for a 2027 potential, that was the rumor for the launch window.
And they already secured all of the AMD chips last year, right? They made that big AMD deal last year.
Well, I think Sarah made a nod in her exit, like where she said, the next Xbox is already well on its way.
Yeah.
I think she's sort of securing that as she walks out the door. And then as well, in Sharma's speech, which Sharma's message. I'll read that because it's a little long. I'll read that as well because we haven't gone through that, and she did say some pretty interesting stuff in there. Dear team, today I begin my role as CEO of my goddamn camera. Today I begin my role as camera not working. I feel two things at once: humility and urgency. Humility because this team has built something extraordinary over the decades, and urgency because gaming is in a period of rapid change. It's in a change. I disagree with that. Just quickly before I go on, I don't think it's in rapid change. It is, but I think it's been in constant flux since the 1980s. Like, I think there's been rapid change, obviously, with the power like leaps that we've seen from the early 80s to now in compute, but also it's in constant flux. Like the next big thing hits, it disrupts the industry. That could be a game, it could be a service. Constantly, it's a volatile. And I'll read Peter Moore's thing as well, Holly, because I just read that, and it is a volatile industry. So it is in rapid change. We need to move with clarity and conviction, and I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can actually move with clarity. As soon as I read we need to move with clarity and conviction, clarity about what's coming, I don't think that's possible. Conviction, like you need to make decisions. A good leader makes decisions. They don't always make the right decision, but makes decisions. There's nothing worse than an indecisive leader, so that is good to hear from her. Sorry, I'll continue to read and then we'll talk about it. I am stepping into a work shaped by generations of artists, engineers, designers, writers, musicians, operators, and more who create worlds that have brought joy and deep personal meaning to hundreds of millions of players. The level of craft here is exceptional, and it is amplified by Xbox, which was founded in the belief that the power of games connects people and pushes the industry forward. Mo, if you're bagging out my reading in the comments, all right, turn the caps off. It hurts me. Thank you, Phil, for his leadership, and to every studio, platform, and operations team that built this foundation. We are stewards of some of the most loved stories and characters in entertainment, and bring players and creators together around the fun and the community of gaming in entirely new ways. She's got a semicolon, bro. This is AI. My first job is simple: understand what makes this work and protect it. That's good to hear. That starts with 3 commitments. First, great games. Everything begins here. We must have great games, beloved by players before we do anything. Unforgettable characters, stories that make us feel, innovative gameplay, and creative excellence. We will empower our studios, invest in iconic franchises, and back bold new ideas. We will take risks. Good. We will enter new categories and markets where we can add real value, grounded in what players care about most. I promoted I don't know what he's written. I promoted Matt Booty in honor of his commitment. I don't think you should promote anyone in honor of anything. I think you should promote someone because they got the skills and the competence to nail the role. So I'd rather hear that. But anyway, he understands the craft and the challenges of building great games and has led teams that deliver award-winning work and has earned the trust of game developers across the industry. Second, the return of Xbox. This is the interesting bit, right? I might stop after this and then go back to the future of play. So second, the return of Xbox. We will recommit to our core Xbox fans and players. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
Also, what does that mean? Let me finish this section.
Yeah.
We'll recommit to our core Xbox fans and players, those who have invested with us for the past 25 years, and to the developers who build the expansive universes, experience that embrace our players across the world. We will celebrate our roots with renewed commitment to Xbox, starting with console, which has shaped who we are. It connects us to players and fans who invest in Xbox, and to the developers who build ambitious experiences for it. Gaming now lives across devices. This is where this doesn't line up, man. You just said you were going to commit, and then you're going back to this whole cloud thing. Anyway, gaming now lives across devices, not within the limits of any single piece of hardware. As we expect, it's like you lift me up and you slap me down. As we expand across PC, mobile, and cloud, Xbox should feel seamless, instant, and worthy of the communities we serve. We will break down barriers so developers can build once and reach players everywhere without compromise. Just quickly.
So anyone who got their high hopes, thinking that any of that meant that exclusivity was coming back, let's go ahead and dim those flames right now.
Donte,
I'm sorry, bro.
Donte.
Do not read that statement and think that Xbox is back and commitment to the no, dude. Their
exclusivity
strategy
is back, bro.
Their strategy is what it is, right?
But listen. Let me have my delusion. All right.
Okay.
So when she then says at the bottom down there, it's two very interesting statements in this section, right? We're going to recommit to our core fans. Exclusivity is back, baby. That's how I read it. Right. And then the second, right? Mm-hmm. It sort of refines that. So exclusivity is not back. She slapped me down as soon as she started going. It's cool. But right when she goes into, you're gonna read that a couple of times because I read that I was like, what the? She says we will break down barriers so developers can build once and reach players everywhere without compromise. Mm-hmm. Now that is a direct nod to the next Xbox being a PC, right? Or having a PC architecture so they can build it once for Xbox and it's everywhere, right? But then also, now think about this. You're going to have to do a port for PlayStation, right? So that's not building once. That's having to build twice, right? She very clearly said she's going to build once. Now, I don't think they're going to start not putting games on PlayStation. But then what does that mean? Like, how does PlayStation come to the party to make it easier for Xbox to build once for their platform
it's PR,
and then distribute?
It's a PR statement. I don't think we should read heavily into this as, because like to me, I think if this is someone being put in place, let's say Satya is making this call, right? This is who he wanted to take over as opposed to Sarah. Well, he wants games as many places as possible, right? He doesn't want to hear about like, let's compete by making things exclusive again. I think the questions that the conversation we probably should be having is what's going to happen to other services that are currently up, like Game Pass. Is day and date still going to be a thing? Is Game Pass going to still be a long-term thing? Like these are the things I'm more interested in because I feel like their strategy of getting their games in as many places as possible, that is going to be the thing. They spent too much money for that to not happen. So what's going to happen with the thing that could be potentially cannibalizing sales, which is Game Pass, now that someone else is at the helm? We lost you. Holly, can you talk?
There was no mention of services. That's 100%. So that is
Phil mentioned it, but only in his conversation about Sarah as well.
Yep.
But I don't think them mentioning to me, like, this is not really about being like, don't worry, we still have Game Pass. I don't really feel like that should have been anybody's focus at this moment, right? Like, this is about just, hey, we've got new leadership. Like I said, I think big changes are coming. I don't necessarily feel like Game Pass is on the chopping block. They wouldn't have done that massive overhaul in October, knowing that this was going to happen in the next 3 or 4 months, right? And then also there are rumors, and we kind of have heard, right, that they are headed towards simplifying all of those Game Pass tiers, right? So the PC tier is going to go away because guess what? The next Xbox is also a PC, right? They're just going to go to like a premium and then probably like a whatever core equivalent, right? Where it's just more about online or, a handful of games, etc. I really don't think Game Pass is going away. I think it's going to iterate again, right, due to the next box and what that will look like. But I don't know. I don't think this is a time to like get all into the weeds about Game Pass and its future, especially because you can buy 3 years out. What are they going to do for people who have bought 3 years out? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do about that?
You refund them. But so I guess the question there is like, is internally, do they see Game Pass as working? Do you know what I mean? Because that was her like initial mission statement or PR statement.
Like you bring someone like her in because you feel she's a disruptor, right? You don't bring someone like her in just because you're going to do business as usual.
She said my first job is simple: understand what makes this work and protect it.
Yeah.
Right. So if she sees,
right, but also to shut things up, right? You don't like. Otherwise, you could have just promoted Sarah.
But it also means that, like, if she sees Game Pass as what's not working,
right,
then she very likely could make a decision to go like, all right, this has not been working for our business, and we need to either pull this, or we need to scale it back, or we need to change this, or we need to iterate on this. So I feel that if you look at Game Pass internally, especially after it's a bad time because the Call of Duty was just absolute trash, right? And so it didn't do well for Game Pass, which the previous one did. So I hope when she looks at this, she looks at the overall sort of history of how this has been working. Because if you look at Call of Duty, for instance, as a yardstick, and then you say, right, so Call of Duty didn't really move the needle for us on Game Pass like we would expect it to. So we've just lost a lot of money on basically on having it in Game Pass. So how about we pull specific big franchises from from Game Pass? That could be a decision that they make. They go, look, all right, we're not going to put our third party, not that they're third party anymore because they're first party, but the third party studios, big tent poles that we have, not going to put them in Game Pass anymore. We're going to keep our Xbox studio stuff in there. There could be just a number of changes that they make to Game Pass that could be advantageous or that could be bad. But I don't think we should be pulling anything off the table at this point when you've got a new CEO coming in with fresh eyes, having a look at the systems, processes, procedures, how that all works, and how that reflects on the balance sheet at the end of the month, right? Because that's what she's going to be looking at. She wants to look at that P&L, right, and what's affecting this P&L, and how quickly can we get these services numbers back up. Yeah. And if that means by ditching Game Pass, I don't think we're going to get rid of Game Pass, Holly. I agree on that 100%. I don't think they're going to get rid of it, but I agree that there will probably be some significant changes. Possibly rewards. Monad in the chat. There's been a lot of changes to rewards over the past couple of years that have been. We've had ups and downs with that. I don't use it a heap, but I use it a little bit. So, I mean, and it's always advantageous, you get something back for buying. But one of the other things that is sort of just to jump, and you guys can stop me and track back if you want to, but me obviously going into the PC space with a 5090 Aeros water-cooled Extreme and a CPU that's absolutely crazy. Anyway, but me jumping into the PC space, it sounds in that last statement like she wants to have seamless... and I think they've wanted this for a while, but hopefully she invests in this, have this seamless experience across both console and PC. And you guys would know better. Well, Holly, you would know better than me and Donte, I suppose, because you use PC quite a bit more than us. That experience is not 110% at the moment and could be a lot better, right? So I would like to see them properly invest into PC because all the guys I talk to, so I just started just as a side thing, I just started a new role, which took me to a new place, jumped around a bit, and I've landed at this spot. Bunch of gamers where I've landed. I'm like, oh, fantastic. There's a dude with a gaming laptop. And every single one of them were Xbox guys. And these are not guys who are deep in this whole fandom. They're all Xbox guys. And they were like, yeah, no, I'm going PC. Right? All of them have done that.
A lot of OG Xbox dudes I know are just like, they're primarily either on PC right now or slowly making that transition. Me, I still want the console, so I'm not making that jump completely just yet. Even though, if I want to, I could, but I prefer still the console living room space. But yeah, it's definitely something that's happened a lot more over the last 3 to 4 years compared to previous.
So what is it? But what does it mean when she says, this is the thing that's really curious, is the we will recommit to our core Xbox fans and players, those who have invested with us for the past 25 years. What does that mean?
I'm telling you, I'm hoping she's full 100% behind that. And she's like, hey, I'm completely excited about this. And I want to basically bring Xbox back to some glory days where you can change the perception, because that's what it needs to do, is change this perception. But I really feel this is just a really, really good PR statement, right? It's steadying the ship for those of us who have been used to Phil being at the helm for so long, and this abrupt news that he's out, and also the person we thought who was going to supplant him is out, and you're introducing this new person who comes from an AI background, and everyone's feelings on AI is already shaky as it is, where most of us are like, we get that slap out of our faces. So I think it's a really good PR statement. Whether there's actual teeth to it completely remains to be seen. The one thing I will say is, though, about her appointment and also looking at tenure, because again, she's been at locations for a couple years at a time, 2 to 3 years at a time on average, right? So whatever she's gonna do, it's gonna happen. Has to happen soon, right?
Well,
And you gotta like it, Holly. I've been in corporate America for a very long time. They never bring in somebody new as a CEO who doesn't come in and do something disruptive. It just never happens. No one comes in and kind of just does like certain things. I get like it works, and like what's not broke, you don't fix it, right? But you have to make your mark in some part to basically show why you are the person who came in and is taking over that role. And you have to do something to be drastic to make the company be like, okay, yeah, that's why we put you in this position. That's different from what the previous person was doing. She's going to have to make her mark in some particular way. So she's going to something's going to have to change. And that's what I'm curious about. Not saying it's doom and gloom. I'm just curious as to what is her mark going to be? What is she really going to change?
All I was going to say is that, I mean, she's been at each of those spots 2 to 3 years, and obviously she was somewhat successful. I think, she started at companies where there was an actual like small internal organization, right? And every time you get up, you get another spot, it's a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger, right? And like this is significantly bigger than what the core AI team was. And so I mean, this is a huge step up for her. So I mean, it makes sense that she's there 2 to 3 years because she's obviously not burned down any company. And then, like those CEOs hop around like water, right? They're like, where's the next bigger step? Where's the next bigger step? Who's going to give me more? Who's going to pay me more? Who's going to get me more public eye so that I could get to the next step? So yes, they do disruptive things, but it's more in the service of self-service.
Well, and
self-service. Getting another job.
It has to be good for the company to give yourself good eyes for the next. If you are like, because what we got to also think about is what is her actual goal, and what I mean by that is career goal. Because I think even I felt this way for even Sarah to a degree, as like, oh, okay, cool. Here's Sarah in his position, and like we didn't like everyone knew Phil's a gamer, and that's why us gaming fans love Phil, right? Sarah, she shares stories about gaming with her father, but we didn't know she was a gamer. We felt like she was a really competent corporate person, right? She's been really, really good at navigating the corporate waters, and she's excelled in every particular way she's going. What is her actual end goal? Like, what's her like, because that matters, right? Where she sees herself in 10 years or so, right? So this might be like, I will have this underneath my belt if I was running Xbox for X many years, but ultimately I eventually want to be a Satya or something like that, right? So the same thing has to be asked about Asha. What is her stated goal? Is this kind of like a part of the process and a journey where like, I'll do this. It's a bigger task to bring it to now you're running something that has 20 some odd thousand employees versus 4,000. But at the same time, like if she doesn't see herself as like, this is my dream job, right? She's going to be like, well, what do I need to do in the time that I'm going to be in this position to make my mark? Because my stated actual goal is I want to do this. I eventually want to be whatever that is, right? So that's
she has to come in and make a company more positive than it was when she came in, right? Yeah. And whatever metric it is that company has, it has to become more successful. It has to be more broadly known just outside of even Microsoft, right? Like how it's grown or how it's improved, because she might not be the next person in line for Satya's job. It might be somebody else, but she's vying for it. And if somebody else gets Satya's job, then she's going to be looking for Netflix or, you know what I mean? Like something else, right? To your point, right? But that doesn't mean it could be bad for consumers or it could be great for consumers. You just don't know.
Well, I don't think it could be bad. Hang on. I don't think it could be bad for consumers because that's obviously not going to project the right message, right? That's not serving her tenure for her to move on to a bigger, better role if this is not her role, right? So if that's the case, then yeah, I agree with everything that you guys are saying there, that she needs to obviously make some changes and see some demonstrable growth and see net positives for the brand before she steps away so she can move on to it, whatever the dream job is.
It could still be bad for consumers because the metrics that become successful might not necessarily be like pro community, pro game, you know what I mean? Like pro gamer metrics. It might be company wide metrics, right? Like we just watched all of that happen after ABK when they went through this massive change. Now on the back end, it might look better because I think there was a lot of push and pull internally, right? to find a way to, because you had gamers or just people like Xbox. There's a lot of people that work there, just been there forever, right? So they understand the business of gaming in a different way. So it's a push and pull between money and responsibility to the consumer on the gamer aspect side. So there was a lot of that we saw, right? And it didn't necessarily go all over like roses. And there's been some things that have happened that really aren't necessarily pro-consumer, like raising my ultimate like $13 to add Fortnite, who gives an F? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there are things that monetarily to shareholders might look successful, but to a gamer is kind of like, you know? But it doesn't mean they're all bad. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times I think those things both overlap, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Fortnite thing I would say is subjective because if you ask Special Nick, he's like leaping out of his chair, happy about that. So, yeah, I feel like if she's going to do some disruption, obviously there's going to be, I think more of if I was working for Microsoft, if I was in Xbox now, I would be concerned about whether my role is secure or not. Again, because, you know, will we see layoffs? Is she going to look at studios that are performing? Is she going to look at studios that are performing and then go, okay, cool, we need to help these studios? Or is she going to look at studios not performing and go, right, okay, we need to get rid of these studios? You know, that's the decision you make it as a CEO. You know, what workflows can we introduce? What kind of AI can we use to increase these workflows, to increase the output? I think she's got the right idea when she says that, you know, we build once and then it's everywhere, right? Who said what? What's Holly laughing at?
Jaffe. Never met Xbox P3 and I must have done something to get blocked by him at some point. But I always loved his vision for Xbox, even though a lot of Sony fans attacked me for it. I imagine Game Pass as we know it is dead, but I just loved what he was trying to do. Thanks, Phil. Sorry. It just made me
I think everyone stopped listening to Jaffe quite a while ago. He crashed out hard. But look, let's go to the Peter Moore. What Peter had to say. See, Peter Moore said, news that Xbox P3 has stepped away marks the end of a significant chapter for Microsoft gaming, and in particular Xbox. It is easy, especially in today's climate, to critique decisions, debate strategy, and judge outcomes with the benefit of hindsight. What is harder is to sustain leadership over the decades in an industry that reinvents itself every few years. Well, that's what I was saying. Of that, I'm only too painfully aware. Phil did that. From the early days of Xbox through console transitions, studio acquisitions, platform wars, the rise of subscription and cloud, he was a steady presence in what was often been a turbulent environment. Gaming at Microsoft has never been a quiet assignment. Expectations were immense. Competition was relentless. The spotlight was constant. I had the privilege of working alongside him during formative years for the business, and what I saw was a commitment to players, loyalty to teams, and resilience when the noise was loudest. Phil was and is a gamer at heart, and that showed in everything he did during my time with him. Leadership in the industry means making imperfect decisions with incomplete information. That's exactly what I was just saying. That's the thing that they have to do. You're not going to have the clarity of vision for the future. You're not going to know 110% for sure, but you have to make decisions. That's what a good leader does. Anyway, back to what he was saying. Under extraordinary pressure, it means standing in front when things go wrong and sharing credit when they go right. That is not easy work. whatever opinions swell today, and I see the boo birds are out in the flocks. The boo birds. Sorry. History tends to be kinder and more balanced. That might be more of an English thing that you guys don't know about, or an English-Australian thing. History tends to be kinder and more balanced. Sustained contribution matters. Building institutions matters. Showing up year after year matters. A long career in gaming, particularly at the scale of Microsoft, deserves respect. Wishing Phil good luck. I think he's a good luck for whatever comes next, and all the best, mate. I think he's probably should be remembered as one of the most respected CEOs in gaming of all time. Let's just finish up on what she said. And I think that, like, Peter, there was nothing in there that I think Peter said that I just disagree with. I think he's, there's been some tough decisions they've had to make. It's just decisions that I don't agree with. And Harley, I mean, Donte, you guys know there's a lot of decisions that I don't agree with. And Harley, you are right. We don't know what is going on behind closed doors. But if I was there, I'd be slapping coffees off the table, keeping exclusivity. Xbox would be, sorry. So the future of play. This is her third thing that she's focusing on. This is, I guess, interesting, and Donte feeds into what you were just saying before, as I wanted to come back and read this because you were talking about where we go, what disruption she's going to make. Third, the future of play. We are witnessing the reinvention of play. To meet the moment, we will invent new business models and new ways to play by leaning into what we already have, iconic teams, characters, and worlds that people love. That's bringing back IPs. We will invent, but we will not treat those as static IP to milk and monetize. I'm getting a bit of feedback, guys. We will build a shared platform and tools that empower developers and players to create and share their own stories. As monetization, and this is the part where I'm like, I mean, like, this is to the shareholders. I wish she had put to the shareholders. As monetization and AI evolve and influence this future, we will not chase short-term efficiency, flood our ecosystems with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art, crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided by us. So sorry, I take that back. Maybe that's not for the shareholders, but like, it's obviously monetization is going to be front of mind if you're running a business. And I think that that's like a nod to the gaming community because she knows that there's been a bit of a pushback on AI. I think if you're talking about efficiency, there's AI there involved. Like, if you're not using AI as a business, you're not as efficient as you can be at the moment. But we'll see what she does. The next 25 years belong to the teams who dare to build something surprising, something no one else is willing to try, and have the patience to see through it. We've done this before, and I'm here to help us do it again. I want to return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place. You can't. It's too big. It will require us to relentlessly question everything, revisit processes, protect what works, and be brave enough to change what does not. Thank you for welcoming me into this journey. If you have any kind of corporate experience, right? And Donte, I mean, you're in corporate, Holly. I think you've got some corporate experience as well. What you do to be able to get, how do you word this? So it's very difficult to convey to the bureaucracy, I would say, is middle management, that what they are doing is not working. And even coming from top down, it's very difficult to do. I think in a beast that's this big, 20,000 people, it's a big ship. And if you want to turn it, it takes time. So when you talk about disrupting, Donte, I'm like, what? And then we think about the timelines that she spent within her previous roles. What kind of disruption can you bring in 3 years to Microsoft that isn't a net negative? If you're going to turn this shit, and we've seen Xbox do this too many times. They do it all the time, and they really need to stop doing it. They set course for something, and then they pivot. But to pivot a machine this big is very difficult to do, which I think is a lot of the reason why there's negativeness around Xbox is that they set course on something and they pivot to something else, but they're never big enough to turn the ship quickly enough to execute properly on what they need to do. I'd say Game Pass was one of the things that we've seen them like aim for, and they've slowly made their way there. I I would say they had it perfect. But if you're talking about from a company perspective, as well as being value for the players, where we're at now, not the price, but where we're at now, what they're doing with the tiers, I think is the right move for a business, right? You've got your tier levels. People can get in on entry level. People can pay that premium price if they want to. Not the price is too much at the moment, I agree, but that is the smart thing to do. And that's an example of them having an idea, setting course for the idea, and then eventually making their way there. But too often we see them have an idea, change course, have an idea, change course, have an idea, change course. And that leaves incomplete, processes, systems, people you've hired. It bogs down the system, right? So what can you do in 3 years if that's how long we're expecting it to stay? What can be done in 3 years to disrupt Xbox in a good way? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if you put out a statement like this, though, you have to do some things to address whatever was in your statement, right? So if you're like, hey, commitment to the console and to core fans. Well, the core fans came because of the console, right? Initially, and obviously, and probably like, Halo Gears or one of those two. But it seems like you've kind of conceded hardware over the last few years. So you have to maybe that's an area where you can somehow basically make hardware enticing again to basically win back. Some people were like, I do want to get the next Xbox versus just trying to, it's okay if everyone just wants to build a PC. So maybe that's one avenue. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, look, I'm not doom and gloom on this. It sucks because obviously I've always enjoyed Phil. I think he's a really cool dude. I think the brand basically would not have survived if it wasn't for Phil, to be quite honest. I think Xbox would have died years ago. So it sucks to see him go, and then I feel bad for Sarah considering that if this was blindsiding to her for what she thought was probably going to happen. But at the same time, it's I'm gonna be optimistic for Asha. I'm gonna give her an opportunity to see if she can actually make good. I'm pretty sure she doesn't want to come into this role and be like a sacrificial lamb where the brand just really starts to crumble underneath her, right? She wants to come in and make sure it becomes a healthy brand and takes it to a place where maybe maybe leadership feels like it should have already been, right? So sometimes change, especially when you've had the same kind of core group for a long time. Sometimes change can be a positive thing if it's the right person. But so she has to work on changing perception, right? Because I think that's the one thing that Xbox has really been beaten to the ground for over the last, say, decade. It's just the perception. It's always the whipping boy, right? It's always the one that basically, even how many articles has Kotaku put out over the years of Xbox is dead?
Well, they put one out today.
Right, exactly. And then it's 1 of 10 that they've done over the last 5 or 6 years, right? And so, that's a thing. We've seen that happen for a lot of different publications. So to me, that's one of the things she should focus on as to how to make it seem like where it's not the, of the big three between Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, it's not looked at as the laughing stock one. It's the one where it's the premier console or premier ecosystem to be in. And how she would do that, I don't know. But to me, that would be a good place. That, and then, focusing again on hardware versus just conceding hardware to either PC or PlayStation.
Bringing the hardware back would be fantastic. Someone else raised in the chat as well. Give me back the Matt Booty, spend them out of business. BT Mavericks 707. Long time supporter. Shout out to you, man. I do need to get to super chats. Lotus to Spree. I saw those in the chat. I will come back to them, but this is obviously a bit of a day. But BT says, give us the spend them out of business booty. And Matt Booty's message, he's now the number 2, right? I have met Matt once, but he seemed very slick, right? So I read Phil's note with much gratitude. He has been a steady champion for game creators in our studio teams, and I've learned so much from his leadership over the years. All our games have benefited from his foundational support. I'm also grateful to Sadia for his ongoing commitment to gaming and holding vision of how it can connect back to the larger community. Looking forward, I'm excited to partner with Ashera as our next CEO. Our first conversation centered on her commitment to making great games and the role that plays in our overall success. She asks questions, pushes for clarity, and what seems like clarity is a new buzzword over there. push for clarity, and wants our choices grounded in player and developer needs. That mindset matters as the industry around us is changing quickly. How players engage, how games are made, and how business models and platforms evolve. We have good reasons to believe in what's ahead. The organization and its franchises have navigated change for decades. Our strength comes from our teams who know how to adapt and keep delivering. That confidence is grounded in a strong pipeline of established franchises, new bets we believe in, and clear player demand for what we are building. My focus is on supporting the teams and the leaders we have in place and creating the conditions for them to do their best work. To be clear, there is no organizational changes underway for our studios. Thanks for everything you do for players and for each other. So I think that's sort of a shoring up to say that, hey, we're not dumping any studios and there's going to be no layoffs at the moment. But I would like to see a spend them out of business for, Matt Booty, sorry. I would like to see a bit more of an aggressive nature from Xbox towards its competition. While still partnering, and obviously they are still partnering, but I'd like to see a bit more competitiveness in that hardware space. Holly, I know Donte, you've sort of spoken on that, but Holly, is that where you think they can make a difference?
Sorry. What?
What do you think, based on her statement, right? Of Asha's statement.
Yeah.
Let's say she's here for 3 to 5 years or whatever the case is. Where do you think you can make an impact?
Oh, yeah, that. Man, I don't know. I mean, it depends on where her strengths are. It seems like her strengths are in automation, right?
I hear marketing too. I hear people saying she's pretty good at marketing. That's a lot of chatter I'm seeing.
I mean, not that I might have heard one or two complaints about Xbox marketing in the past, maybe just one or two. So if we could get that rocking and rolling a little bit differently, that could only help. But she has to be given the budget to do it too. Don't forget. And I have heard that Xbox marketing budget has been cut quite drastically, even this year, even after last year. So, you got to have money to make it rain, right? Money gets money. So I don't know. Where is she going to find money in the budget to do better marketing? Or maybe you just get clever. Or maybe you just get very, very clever and find viral ways to, spin stuff up or use community through, like they could do a lot of community partnership things where they're getting free advertising by spending a couple hours with different content creators, right? And really doing a lot of buzz stuff that way. Like there's all kinds of things that you could do that don't necessarily mean you just have to go out and spend $1.5 million or $3 million at the Game Awards, right? So I don't know, but that's a good point. I mean, we know Xbox marketing needs a little help. We will see. I don't know.
Like with gaming, like it's this $1 billion a year industry, right? But yet it still feels like Microsoft treats them like it's not serious enough to focus on things like marketing, like they would do for anything else in their business structure. So it's kind of weird. It's like you want it to be successful, and it's a large part of your business, but yet it's still, because it's gaming, it feels like it doesn't get treated like it's like a serious business within the org. Because if so, you would
say that
proper marketing for it, and like we've complained about this for years. Right? Mm-hmm. This is not like a new thing. We've complained about this for years. You'll see PlayStation stuff everywhere, and then when we finally see something at an event that has an Xbox logo or something on it, we're like, oh,
it's a miracle.
They finally did something, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. I always get this feeling that we want you guys to do well, but we're not going to give you a lot of money to do it when it comes to marketing.
And then when they do big marketing, it always feels like the timing on it is a little bit weird. I don't know. But, they bought Activision, and Activision knows how to sell the ever-loving crap out of Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
They know how to engage with content creators. They know how to engage with streamers. They know how to do COD Next. Like, they know exactly how to spin that marketing machine up. And you shouldn't expect that level of commitment to every game. Of course not, right? Like, Call of Duty gets that much marketing money because they generate that much money. But there's a roadmap there. You could just take that and create a condensed or a more petite version, depending on the game, depending on, obviously your market's going to be different for Call of Duty than it is for Kiln, right? Completely different. So there's ways to do that. It feels like all they need to do is just like you said, look at Sony, look at Activision, look at the size of the games, even look at, like, honestly, Devolver Digital and Annapurna, right? Small publishers, but they publish really good games, and like for the indie space, right? For the smaller games that Xbox creates. Like, you always hear about like the bigger Devolver Digital games. Yeah. And a bigger Devolver Digital game is still way smaller than anything that you would do for Halo or you would do for Call of Duty. So why not? I don't know.
I think as well with the marketing, I'd say messaging has been one of the problems, right? So for them to market, they need to know what the message is. And I think that's been a bit of a problem with Xbox, is like setting the messaging and sort of sticking with it. I guess you could argue the point that it's evolved over time, from cloud to this, to that, to this, spreading it out across the thing. But to be fair, right? And I've complained about marketing as much, if not maybe more than usual Xbox gamer, but there's been in the decades that Xbox has been around, the way that we market and the way that marketing works has like changed. And maybe they haven't moved with the times on their marketing, like you've gone from basically the only way to get the message out is billboards, TV ads, and there wasn't that many ways to get that message out and utilize the spaces, right? So, and then now you've got to a point where it's, like you said, content creators, like consumer expectations are different. There's more consumer feedback. There's more differing consumer feedback. And it's a huge, there's a huge, like there's TikTok, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's so many different spaces that you need to cover in a marketing campaign. I feel reducing the budget is a bad idea. If anything, you should have expanded it, but as well, to be fair, marketing has become infinitely more difficult in the last 2 decades.
There's too many screens and there's too many apps on those screens. It's just grabbing attention
Yeah, everyone's attention has been spread thin, I guess is another way to put it, right? And you didn't have the focus attention of, like, everyone sat down after dinner and watched a bit of TV. You know what I mean? And there wasn't streaming services and there was ads on TV, and that was a way to reach the consumer. Whereas now, I don't think billboards are utilized nearly half as well as they should be, because everyone has to drive somewhere sometime, right? Get those billboards up, man. You got digital billboards. If you're a marketing company, you could absolutely slay with those things. I think that's probably something that Xbox could do better at, is utilizing their billboards, utilizing their buses, utilizing their bus stops around the place.
I love when they buy a wall on a building and just paint the mural on it, or the big paper thing on it. I love those. I think those are like the best. They look really cool. I don't know.
The dome thing that they did, where they I think it was in Las Vegas.
The Las Vegas thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was great. Stuff like that.
But those all cost major money, right? Like the things that you're talking about, like the more local, because the dome is like you spend a F ton of money to be able to try to get Twitter to pick it up or TikTok to pick it up, right? Like then you put it out on all those and it makes sense for once or twice. But then like when you're thinking about those local billboards and all those things you were talking about, like where do you put them? Right? Like you gotta like there's a lot of towns and there's a lot of places. And so like that that becomes like it's cheap in the singular version, right? But then you're talking about multiple countries, multiple cities. It just, yeah.
Yeah. When you do that, though, in fairness, you cover all those marketing beats, those Twitters and TikTok, like you mentioned. It hits all those too. So when you do a major one like that, and I think when they did the Las Vegas thing, it wasn't for anything that was made. It was like a play anywhere. They were trying to deliver their message instead of trying to deliver a game. And I think
it wasn't a game. Yeah, it was Xbox. Yeah.
I think they should do that for their IPs. You want to explode your IPs, make them bigger. Save that stuff for that. You know what I mean? And then for your messaging, use your content creators and all that sort of stuff. I think that's a smarter thing to go about it. But it should be a covering in every approach sort of strategy. You shouldn't just be focusing on one thing. But when it comes to bigger games like your Halos, your Gears, all that sort of stuff, it should, your big domes, your Super Bowl spots, the whole bit. You should do that for your IPs. Look, there's a lot we've talked about a lot. There's obviously it's going to be a lot of change. It's going to be interesting to see whether we get some new IPs. Disappointed in Phil, he never brought back StarCraft. Disappointed in Phil that he never brought World of Warcraft to console. There was a lot of opportunities I feel were missed with the ABK acquisition. But with the small disappointments I had with Phil's tenure, this is to be 110%. There were some things that Phil did that I didn't like. Disappointed about the exclusivity thing. Fuck you, Phil. But overall, I think Phil has been a major net positive and a fantastic steward for Xbox. And I personally wish him all the best. And I think, honestly, Phil, take 5 years off, bro, because that man has aged. Like, not throwing any shade, but you can see that the last 5 years have been a tough grind for Phil. And I think what Phil deserves the most is like just some time to relax, chill out, spend some time with his family, and sort of take stock before he moves on to taking Mikey Ibarra's job. That's my final tap. I'm hoping for the best for Xbox. I'm hoping that if they integrate across all of their, I think the main thing that I think for them is obviously focusing on their IPs, but they really need to make it seamless, like she's mentioned, across all of their platforms that they're using. You know what I mean? Whether it be mobile, cloud, or PC. I think they need to get those PC apps in line. Have them running at full optimization, so that you don't get a version on Steam that runs better on Xbox. That bad PR that you get. I think if they can achieve just those, making sure the IPs are strong, and making sure that all their systems across all of their platforms run well. And if they can improve the messaging and marketing, that would be fantastic. If she can just do that, I think that she'll be a fantastic steward as well. I don't think they're going to add Copilot Cygnus. How did he hasn't been here for weeks, then he comes back. I need this, man.
You haven't been here for weeks.
That's true. So that's sort of my final word on it. I do want to talk a little bit about the PlayStation thing, but Donte, I'll jump to you guys real quick, get your final word on it, and then we'll jump into the state of play, because I think that was actually pretty good. Donte?
Oh no, I got nothing else to say on that on the subject, man. I mean, I'm obviously wishing Phil the best for whatever he decides to do next. Sarah, she's a smart cookie, so wherever she goes next, I'm pretty sure she's going to land on her feet and do very, very well. And I'm just hoping the best for Asha, right? I'm hoping the best for Asha, that basically she's able to come in and be very successful, because ultimately, like, big scheme of things, we're fans of the brand, right? And we want the brand to succeed. So whoever's at the helm, right, we want to make sure that person is able to be successful without damaging the brand, and able to to make it very, very, very viable for the future. So hopefully she's able to do so, and we wish her all the best.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And Sarah as well. Yeah, completely, which I shouldn't. Horrible. But yeah, all the best. I think Sarah will do well with it wherever she goes. She's got the acumen and the drive. Holly?
About this topic?
Final word?
Final word on this topic.
Yeah, it brings a little tear in my eye to see Phil go. It's generally the end of an era. I think he was really good for Xbox, and was really good for gamers on the other end of Xbox. And I hope Sarah is well and she finds another fantastic job that she can slide right into and, hit the ground running. I'm sure she'll do well. She rose in this company really quickly. And I'm like scared and excited to see what happens to the rest of Xbox. And there's a lot of people at that company with 20 to 22,000 employees who I'm sure are very nervous about where things are proceeding. So I wish them all the best as well, because it's always scary when there's transition at your job, even whether it's your direct supervisor or somebody at the tippy top, because you don't really know how that's going to affect you. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, and also just really, really sad to see Phil go, because he's just a good dude.
Yeah, he is a good dude. And I think I just think he deserves a break. Hey guys in the chat, thanks for joining us. Look, I want to know if you guys think it's a net positive or a net negative. So just drop good or bad. Sort of what you think about it going forward in the chat, because I'm curious to see like sort of what the split is, how people are feeling. And as well, hit that like button, share us out. We go live every second week now, because I've got things sorted. And we're going to jump into the next topic, which is state of play, which I got to give myself one of these. I thought it was all right. I think this is probably the best one I've seen for a while, man. And there's games for me in it. It's always about the games, the games that are there for you. Obviously, we don't have a heap of time left, but there's definitely a couple of games that I wanted to highlight. And this one is obviously one of them. This is one of the games that I played on PlayStation when it released, the original, which was Kena Bridge of Spirits. And I don't know if you guys played that, but I really enjoyed it. I think Amber Lab is an extremely talented studio. They're former Disney Pixar animators that's turned their hand to gaming. And you could tell in the visual style of the original Kena, like playing it was absolutely stunning to play. Like the look of it was amazing. But there was some negatives in the gameplay. Like the combat wasn't great, wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like great. It was enough to carry you through the game. But there seems to be some upgrades to their combat here as well as the visual. It looks absolutely amazing. So this one I am super excited for. Think it looks good. Be on it day one. Surprised to find out. I think it's coming. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's coming this year. Yeah, out in 2026. So super hyped for this one. I think this is a bit of a win for PlayStation. This did eventually come to Xbox as well. So did you guys you guys end up playing Kena? Holly, play it?
No.
Oh, should have. Honestly, fantastic game. You would love Kena. Donte, did you get a chance to play this one?
I did not.
Oh, guys, you are missing out. Like I said, it had some flaws in the combat, but beautiful game, fantastic story. Really, really enjoyed Kena, so I'm pretty excited for this. And guys, if there's any games you want to jump to, let me know. But I'll jump across to, I guess, the next one. Holly, I think we talked about this when it dropped at the last one, and I know you were interested. This is Four Loop. So it's the four-player co-op game where it's, I guess, sort of like Arc Raiders, right? Third-person view. You're playing against these alien things. You've got to extract. It's sort of an extraction shooter, sort of a roguelike, sort of cross.
Like PvE though, right? It's more PvE for this one. And for what they showed, like when I initially saw this, I didn't care too much for it, but at this showing, they presented it well. Where I became a little bit more interested in it. I'm still a little on the fence, but I thought they presented it pretty well. Especially they sold me on the idea of how randomized it is. So therefore, like every particular run that you do is going to be, like it'll be different. You'll never be doing something that's the same, right? It'll always be different. So that seemed pretty cool.
Well, they also had a bit of a focus on the tools that you can use, right? So you can throw a grenade, make something disappear, like teleport to somewhere else in the world, right? And then there was another one where you could drop that thing on the ground. This is it here. It teleports that thing off to somewhere else in the world. So it doesn't disappear, but it's somewhere else in the world. You may run into it again, right? And then they've got a teleporter for you. You can go into the first-person shooting mode. You can go invisible. They didn't give us too many. They said that there's heaps of these types of tools, though, that you can use to sort of create that. I hate using this phrase because it sounds like such a catchphrase, but to create that emergent gameplay. And so that sort of intrigued me because I think that these games live and die on their on the tools that you can use. So you can do things that maybe the creators didn't intend for you to do, right? You know, you get that in Battlefields and stuff. So and other games. Same with Arc Raiders. You get that a lot in Arc Raiders. People have been able to do some absolutely wild shit and discovered they can do some wild shit with Arc Raiders just because of the tools that you have available to you. I don't know. I don't think this one's DOA, man. When I initially saw it, I was like, this is DOA hard. I'm a little bit more intrigued. Holly, how you feeling about it now?
Yeah, after the first time we saw it, I was like, what? I wasn't really all that excited for it. I thought, this doesn't look very good. But this time, much more intrigued. I thought they showed it very well this time. It's a 4-player sandbox. It's got a probability map, which I really liked. It's kind of like if you've ever played Slay the Spire, which I love Slay the Spire, but it's kind of like on Slay the Spire, you start at the edge of the map and there's like 4 nodes and you pick which one you want to start. And there's a branching path and you can only get to certain ones depending on which node you start in. So this has that same thing where there's this probability map and then you work your way through there and you get different worlds depending on which. See, there it is that we're just talking about, like right there. So you can kind of choose what type of world to a degree that you're going to get in the next iteration when you make it through this. And so this looks way better than I thought it was going to be. I'm really interested in this now. If you die, as long as one of you makes it back to the home base, then they can just bring you back and you can keep going on, which is good. And then you vote for that next map. I thought it was cool. It's way better looking than I thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's the probability map there that they're talking about. I just want to come back to that. Yeah, that's so like you're able to, as you were saying, like you can go harder, or I think they sort of mentioned, this is from memory. I think they mentioned that, like, you know, if you go the harder ones, obviously the rewards are a little bit greater, and you go the easier ones to just sort of get through with the rewards that you have. Yeah, it seems super interesting. But I'm not fully sold on it 100% yet, but I am interested. Like, I'm curious to see what this is going to be like, and what the cost is going to be, right? Is this going to be a full price game? Is it going to be like a $40 game? Is it going to be free to play? Like, what are they going to do with this? Yeah. So
like a $30 to $49.99. You know what I'm saying? Like,
probably.
That's where it should be.
I think at the state of gaming, all these types of games, doesn't matter on quality level, should either be free to play or just in that low price range to get as many people in from the jump as possible. Because we see, Highguard, we see a lot of games that fail just with a free to play, right? So it's a tough space to break into. You have to nail it. And then adding a price tag on top of that obviously just puts your game up against it from the outset. So yeah. Super. So has anyone had a chance to play Pragmata? Because there is a demo. I haven't had a chance to download it. I sort of chose to play something else, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I don't know. This seems like
he downloaded and played it, and he told me something I forgot, because this conversation happened a while ago when the demo was out. But something in terms of like the mechanics that really threw me off, and I was like, no, I'm definitely out.
Fonz.
Was it Fonz?
Fonz said there was like almost like the lock screen on your phone where you have to like copy you know what I mean? Like a copy
to unlock
pattern.
It or whatever.
Yeah.
Like on Android
there's a lot of that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and he was mentioning something too about like kind of like that transition between the little girl and the main player and its mechanics in terms of like, it didn't make it seem like, to me it was like fluid in terms of the combat. I wish I could remember exactly how the combo was, but he really didn't sell me on the demo. It made it seem like something I would have just uninstalled like after playing an hour of it. So
I wish I played the demo though, because this game doesn't really interest me that much, but I've heard some people being like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good," after the demo. So I thought, well, I should at least play the demo. It was free, right? You could have got a little bit of a feel for it, but I did not.
Yeah, I'm not fully sold on it, to be honest. And I didn't play the demo, but not fully sold, man. And it's not about what people have said, but just the feel of it. I'm not feeling it. I think the demo is still available, guys. So I might jump in and have a look. But yeah, again, it's not one of the ones I'm sort of looking forward to be honest. Holly, I know that you're super excited for this one, as am I. And they dropped a little nugget during the showing for this. So obviously it's Leon Kennedy coming back. And then if you know what you're looking at here, if you know what you're looking at when they have the opening there, like that's the police station from the original game.
From 2.
So the original 2, from 2. So yeah, I was like, oh yes, we get to go back. Mm-hmm. And not the other thing is, if you watch this, you see the police station in its like it's not damaged in its new form. And then later on, you see something else. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. So there seems to be like this is moving across a timeline. So I'm super interested. Oh my God, that karate kick is back. Super excited for this, man. It was good to see more of it. I can't wait. It's only around the road, just around the corner that this launches. So Cyberpunk's going to be on the back burner until I get this rig set up. So this is going to be one that I'm jumping into. Well,
someone helped their end of the duty of the deal up, and I feel like
finished it
you now, sir, are becoming kind of sus on your word here, because a deal was made, and Holly did her part of the deal, and you're kicking the can,
right? But the thing is, you see. I want to play it on the rig.
There's always a thing with people who are never going to do it.
That's what I'm saying, right? How close is this rig, man? How close are we to this rig being finished?
Yeah, right. So I've got the last part on the way. So I'm waiting on the motherboard. But I can get the motherboard from the UK and save $200, or I can get it now and have it next week, and it's costing me an extra $200. And I've managed to squeeze down a $15,000 rig. I've squeezed it down to $11,000. So I've been like really frugal with the parts that I've been picking up, right? So, I haven't been frugal because the damn thing's costing me like $11,000, but I've still saved like $3-4 grand, nearly $4 grand on this rig. So, nearly $5 grand. Oh no, $4 grand. So yeah, I'm being sort of careful. So as soon as that part arrives, I've got to build the thing. And then once the thing's built, the first game I will play will be Cyberpunk. You have my word. And I will stream it, the first bit of it, because I've played the first bit of it, so you can see that I'm playing it. And then, you can check in on my Steam profile and the stuff, whatever. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. I made a promise. And as soon as my godlike PC arrives, I will play it.
Cyberpunk's
Legacy of Kain. With the what?
Cyberpunk is incredible. I love that.
It's really nice.
I love that game.
God of War is incredible. And you were privileged to play it. So I want to skip ahead. Like Legacy of Kain again. So just quickly, this is disappointing. Like do a remake. Do a remake. No one wants this. No one wants this. Everyone. There's a lot of
half-assed remasters in this list, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great game that you could do a fantastic remake of. Like, give the people what they want, PlayStation. You used to be good at that. What the hell happened? All right, we're going to move past Dead or Alive because there's a couple of things to this. Now, this looked... I know we've seen this as third-party. And listen, there's a fair bit of third-party stuff in this. And like, there is some smoke there, I think, about that. But I think as far as state of plays go, this has been a pretty good one. This is looking good. I am stoked, and this is coming this year. So, and I don't think it's that far away. Unless I'm wrong.
It's 26.
26. Yeah, it's this year.
Yeah.
So, what do you say about this? Why are you loading? Gosh darn it. This
it looks incredible. I was glad we got to see way more of the actual gameplay. It's like almost like Inception, right? With the world twisting and you jump from the side of a building to the roof of a building and the world flips and all of that. And then like, I love that it's a lot of melee. And then it was almost like Spider-Man too. Well, that's not. No.
Yeah, it just popped up. Yeah. That was accidental.
It's kind of like Spider-Man because you would like web over or say or you know, hook over to the other building and flip the world and fight him. So cool. So cool.
And just looks beautiful as well. It has that again. That's something I usually like with Ubisoft, but Ubisoft does it too. It has that sort of pastel not mask, what's the filter? So that goes over it, right? But it looks amazing. Looks incredible. And this is on the PlayStation Pro. So imagining how this would look on a 4090, 5090, even a 3080. It's gonna be absolutely solid. And it's good to see them do this. Like, you know, like they always take risks. And they're living within that world. So I'm super hyped. And what they're gonna do with Max Payne as well. Because that's in the works. So waiting on Max Payne. I'm just super confident in this studio. I know that Firewatch was a bit of a miss, and I just don't think that this is a studio that should go down a live service route. But yeah, it looks super amazing. Oh yeah, Colt said, "Can I get an invite?" Absolutely, jump on in. I'll send that out to you now. But yeah, Donte, how you feeling about?
I mean, I was hyped for this when we saw like kind of them tease it a while ago, right? And then actually seeing the combat and that, like Holly mentioned, the way the world flips and stuff on the buildings and stuff, kind of like that Inception feeling. Yeah, it looks dope, dude. It looks really, really dope. And I mean, I love Remedy games, so obviously I'm biased in this regard, but I love the first Control, and so more Control for me definitely is a plus. So this is one that really was like, yeah, caught my attention.
Yeah, it's looking good. I mean, and again, I think just a win to have a little bit more info about, like, you know, this in the showcase. Got to move on to the next games. Is there? And again, guys, stop me if there's a game you want to talk about. This one was interesting. This is the thing. Like, I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but there's so many sort of good-looking games in this list. This looks super cool, like co-op, colorful nights, you know, running through sort of a hack and slash experience. Sort of feels very going back to sort of the 360 days sort of experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one again, I'm not 100% sold on, but like pretty interesting, man. It looks cool. I like this, just running around with a couple of mates, like smashing the shit out of skeletons. It sounds great. Colt, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
It's been an awesome day. It's been really good. How are you guys doing?
Wow, was there any news that happened today? Well, why is this so awesome? Anything happen?
I don't think. I was just playing Avowed and just kind of relaxing, enjoying a good RPG, having some fun. Yeah, nothing's happened today.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet, man. Pretty quiet. Just a nice chill Friday. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Am I right?
Yeah.
So let's just quickly get Colt's because we were talking there. We sort of moved on from it, but I want to come back to it. Colt, how you feeling about this whole thing?
I don't know. Kind of indifferent about Sarah Bond, but like I felt like Phil was like the last like face of Xbox when it comes to, you know, a central gaming core and everything that he brought to the table. But I know it seems like over the past couple of years he really wasn't doing a lot of that, or was told no all the time. So I guess it's not surprising, but we thought he would retire. Like we thought he said he would retire in the end of 2027 when they launch the next console, and then he'd be out, and that would be like a good solid, 10 to 12 years. And then, but it really looks like Satya said, if you want to go soon, let's just have you go right now, because I've got plans that I've been working on, and let's just get you out of here, and we'll get rid of Sarah too. So it really looks more like a layoff and a firing more than it looks like a, hey, I think I've been here quite long enough. So some of it's good. A lot of it's not very good. So that's how I feel.
But so you think that Sarah didn't go? Wait, are you kidding me? Well, never mind. I'm out then.
No, I think I think they were making changes. Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah, and Sarah, was told, "Hey, thanks for your service. We got a nice package for you to leave, and you could be on your way, and appreciate it."
Her
I look at
message
Sarah.
was very nice and very professional.
No, of course
she did a great job on it.
Yeah. She's smart, dude. She understands you can't burn bridges in this industry, right?
And not everybody has always pulled their emotion out before they typed.
Yeah. But I'm saying, she's like corporate smart. You know what I'm saying? Like she's been through different industries where it's like, you can come up in gaming and that's all you know, and then you get a personal feeling. Like it can be like Mikey Bar. You can get a personal feeling about something, right?
You want to tell Colt what Magnum said at the beginning of the show about?
No. Tell him.
Magnum's in the chat, and he said, "Tell Phil to go over to Quick Picks and take Ibarra's job over there."
It's like he keeps following me every time I get away.
When I get away, they pull me back.
Pulls me back in.
So, Cole, you think that Phil got given his marching orders?
Yeah, I really do. Yeah. I mean, Phil is out by, Sunday night. It's over. Monday morning, he's no longer the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. So, yeah, to me, to anybody who works in professional realm, he's been asked to leave. So, he says in his exit, Satya and I have been talking since the fall about my eventual departure. And I really think that Satya just said, let's
do it now.
Let's just do it now. And, that can happen when you start talking about, hey, I want to leave. They don't want a trunky person sitting on their luggage, thinking about the eventuality when they're going to leave. Like, you get rid of them now and start preparing for their replacement. And then it looks like Satya brought in like a server rack of AI created human being into, this AI core Aisha Sharma to take over, who we didn't know who she was until we Googled her this morning. So,
if you look at so if you map this onto Jim Ryan's departure was much more sudden, right? Because we've heard rumors about Phil, so there was, before it came out that there was rumors, someone mentioned to me that he might be announcing his exit at I'm pretty sure you heard this too, might be announcing his exit at the last showcase. And that was
at the Game Awards, which was absolutely total comedy. Like Phil would go up and go,
"Hey guys,
I'm announcing the award for best indie game. Oh, by the way, I'm retiring next week, and the winner goes to Expedition 33." Yeah, it's like, no, that was pretty dumb.
Yeah,
but
I thought he'd do it I thought he would do it in the fall for a 25th thing after announcing the next box in the timeline for it. That's what I thought.
That to me made more sense, right? Like, here's the new product that's coming out. I feel Xbox is in good hands, and now it's my time to step away and start the next chapter of my life or something like that. So it's like, even if this is a situation where, he's been talking about retiring for a while. We've been hearing that particular noise and rumors for a minute. This does seem like it accelerated and moved it up faster than probably he was planning on actually stepping away. I would think that maybe he was going to try to see at least the next console to hit and then step away personally. But again, who knows what's going on in his life, or who knows what's going on behind the scenes. But I felt the last numbers from their report didn't bode well for them from sticking around longer.
No, their last 4 reports were continually, down 8%.
Yeah.
Every single time, or 5% each quarterly report. And someone close said, I wasn't surprised when Phil told them that he was leaving. So it sounds like maybe Phil has been talking about this, like they're about done here, and I'm going to be tapering off with so many hints because they said I wasn't surprised. I got a message from this person about an hour before the news broke, and I didn't see it. It's been a crazy day. I was over at my neighbor's house. We made plans because there's finally no YouTube stuff going on. I was supposed to do a podcast. Finally had my day off because I don't work today. And so I went over to his house and we were set aside time and my phone was blowing up. Like that never happens. Like the last time that happened was like, I think when they said we were going to buy ABK, and I kept looking at my phone, and finally after about an hour, I was like, I got to get out of here. When my wife texted me and says, I think you need to call it and report on this news. I was like, oh my gosh. And Fonz called me like twice and Mag called me 3 times. And
I'm hitting you up in text.
Yeah,
and
Donte. Yeah, Dante's like, what's going on? Is this true? And yeah, I'm just frustrated because I've always liked Phil. There's things about what he did that I didn't like, and I've always been pretty vocal about it. And this new era, Aisha says, I made a video tonight, like I finished it a couple hours ago, but I said her name Asha a bunch of times. Aisha says a bunch of times, like,
is it Aisha?
It's Aisha.
That's how I heard it pronounced.
Okay.
But when I looked at, I heard a bunch of people calling her shawarma, like Asha shawarma. I'm like, no, don't. That's not,
rude.
you know,
let's not do that.
Just a dish.
Yeah,
it's just
let's
a
not
dish.
do that.
So, because just people see the name and that's the name they know how to say. But anyway,
shawarma is good things wrong. I must say.
Yeah. Anyway, she's like, oh, you know, it's down to the core of Xbox, and she even mentions the console. And I talked to Randall Thor on the phone about an hour ago, and he said that kind of sounds like, hey, make sure you keep the remaining 17 fans of Xbox satiated, you know, and make sure they just don't jump ship and say, you know, we like the console and the games. And it's interesting that she is like so integral to AI, and she goes, we don't want to put AI slop in our games. Like they're trying to get ahead of that, but the future is definitely going to be cutting a bunch of people and laying them off so that automation can save them more money and fix their revenue shortfalls. That's my speech. Sorry. I love you guys.
Well, I mean, that's exactly sort of the thing that I went to as well. This will mean that there's probably going to be layoffs. They're going to refine stuff. They're going to cut things. You know, Game Pass, like Holly said, maybe not go away, but I feel like she said we're going to look at what's not working and we're going to keep what is working. And I don't feel like internally Game Pass has been working for them. So I feel like that it's in the crosshairs in some fashion going forward.
I'm not so sure about that. What do you guys think about?
Well, I'm thinking is that you don't bring in someone new who's not going to disrupt to a degree and kind of do the same old, right? You don't do that, especially for the person that who we thought was going to take Phil's place with Sarah, right? Because that would have been kind of continuing what they already had been laying the groundwork for. So she probably would have to realistically look at the Game Pass model. And for a long time, we've been hearing things about like if it's cannibalizing sales of some of their bigger games, right? So there's like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, yeah, do I think something's going to happen where they, completely get rid of Game Pass? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if something doesn't happen where they look at certain games that they do better by not having it being in Game Pass,
like COD,
right? Like COD, right? Where something like that changes, so that way they don't feel like the games that, especially their bigger AAA games, that they feel are getting cannibalized with sales and are suffering in the process. So I wouldn't be surprised if like something like that gets looked at in the future, where day and date is a little bit different than what we think it is, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think the $30 price point really set a trend for, or at least set them to a point where they felt mostly comfortable with what they did. I think the next iteration is really just going to be, I mean, obviously it depends on when the actual release date of the next console is, but to me, the next major iteration to Game Pass is going to be, well, we don't need to have a PC Game Pass. We don't need to have a console Game Pass. We just have a premium and a basic. Because you don't need a PC. You don't need a PC subscription or a console subscription anymore, because our box is one thing to rule them all, right? Like, so I mean, unless there's some sort of other price adjustment because it's 3 years out, or something where it's extended. I think
they also have to get rid of Xbox Live. So, like, how would you explain that? They have to get rid of the paywall, which makes them $1 billion every year. So,
Yeah, like I said, I don't think it will go away. I'm just more curious as to, like they were disappointed with Outer World sales, right? And and who knows, like I don't think Avowed did terrible, but obviously it probably didn't hit the metrics that they wanted Avowed to hit, right? The last COD probably didn't hit the metrics that they wanted COD to hit, right? And that's basically been like their big numbers driver for years. That's the reason why they even got ABK. So if you start looking at the games that they expect, I mean, there's a cost benefit analysis where you have to sit there and say, okay, before we put this thing in this service, we were able to generate X, and the people who played it who were in the service didn't off. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to look at that at some point and say what makes sense to not immediately put it in Game Pass and have people pay for it versus what are all the other games that we're doing that are third party, etc., that we can put into it and say, hey, the $30 price justifies it for maybe smaller games that the cost of production isn't as crazy. But for the other games where the cost is higher and you want to get a return, you have to kind of look at it to a degree, especially if you're saying, hey, this didn't hit our expectations, even being released on multiple platforms, right? I was like, would we potentially lose if it would just
you're leaving money? So, yeah, you're leaving money on the table. Like with COD, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Those people that are going to buy it on PlayStation, they're going to buy it there. The people that are going to buy it on PC, they bought it there. But on Xbox, those people that would have maybe bought it and it is on Game Pass, they didn't, right? Like I didn't buy Halo.
Well, counterpoint to that. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong because you're not wrong inherently. There are a lot of people that didn't buy it, but I certainly hope that somebody within the company would go to Asha before they make that decision about Call of Duty and say, hey, wait a minute. What you need to know, because you probably don't, is that Call of Duty that just came out, Black Ops 7, was like the worst Call of Duty rated in I don't know how many years besides Modern Warfare 3. That thing sucked.
I'm so glad you're admitting this, but continue.
But like we had a bad release with this one. So while it looks like we lost a lot of money, this isn't the one to actually use for matrices on how much money we actually lose on Call of Duty in Game Pass. It would be Black Ops 6. Black Ops 6 was a huge revamp, right? It was very successful, very well received. So let's look at that one, right? Because there were a lot of people that played it in Game Pass that would just have never bought Call of Duty, period, full stop, right? And then maybe they played it enough, they bought a couple skins or something like that. And so you've literally made more on that Call of Duty from those people than you ever would have because they never would have bought Call of Duty to play it to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it just puts them in a bad position that they were like being super reliant upon that ABK deal to drive your revenue. And if they have a down year, doesn't bode well for whoever's at the helm, right? Because then it makes it look like, oh man. And then you start looking at, okay, well, like again, you're taking from one place to a degree to paying for some of the deals that for the other games that you put into Game Pass, and then for the games that you are expensing to fund yourself to have paid, right? That are in-house studios, the numbers gotta make sense in some particular way or fashion, right? So they have to be saying like, okay, we expect X amount of Xbox and PC Game Pass subscribers to have played this particular game, and we expect to sell it to this many more people on PC and PlayStation in order for this for everything to work out. And if they don't have enough people who are subscribed to the Game Pass model who are then playing those games, right? And you know what I'm saying? And then you're late to getting it on the PlayStation. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that at some point that has to kind of be within the conversation where I just don't think you can just completely like ignore it and just be like, oh, everything is hunky dory because it brings in $1 billion every year off of the subscription, right? Like you have to.
I think that's the easy win, right? So if I was coming in as a CEO and looking at Game Pass, and I don't have their metrics from behind doors, but you can make assumptions based on what we do know. I think that's the low hanging fruit that I would go after. Like I'm like, well, this is quite clearly. You know, we can make a billion off COD, but how much more can we make with our Xbox players? You also got to, as well, remember that, you know, those guys who are subscribed to Game Pass on PC aren't buying those games, right? So that's a big chunk of money. That's just low-hanging fruit. And so, Holly, I mean, I said the same thing. They shouldn't be using this year's COD And then, you should be going back to last year's COD or even maybe the one before that. But I would say the easiest metric test to do on that is to make the decision, pull it from Game Pass and see what happens. And if that doesn't work, you get consumer pushback and then the money doesn't line up and you had a better result with having it in Game Pass. All you need to do then is put it back in Game Pass the next year round. It gives you a good opportunity to figure out, like, is this model working for us or not? That's what I would do immediately. I'd go, cool, next COD, not in Game Pass, see how that goes, and we'll make decisions from there. That to me, I think, is a smart business move.
I have a great point about like the pricing change tier, right? Because to me, like, the higher tier for day and date made more sense, right? Because I think that kind of offsets, and then anyone in the lower tier will have to make a decision on FOMO to decide, like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and purchase it, or I'm going to go ahead and update for a month, right, to the higher tier. But even still, like with that, right? So like, let's say you're on the basic tier, this game comes out, you're hearing a lot of good noise about it, and you upgrade to the higher tier to play the game, beat the game, and then go back to the basic tier. It wasn't the full price that they would have got if they would have just had bought the game, right? So even there's a little bit of loss there compared to, like, forcing people to be like really having to make that FOMO decision, right? So I'm thinking maybe more like if they do something to touch it for certain games, delayed release, where the higher tier is the higher tier, and that's going to get day and date, but like maybe something as big as COD doesn't end up there day and date if they can keep it out for 6 months. Otherwise, you got to just buy it, or there's a special tier that gives you access to games like COD.
There is a return on investment on COD for the player base, because if they're still doing the yearly releases at like the March to June is when you start to see the drop off. Especially, I would also think in revenue as well from all of the sales, because any skins you buy in September, you're going to lose when the next one comes out in October or November, right? So I stopped putting any money into the season passes and all that stuff in like June, July, because I'm like, I'm not going to be able to use this for very long. But moving on from COD, because there's a lot of talk about COD. Fonz has been tweeting, or not tweeting, but messaging about apparently some previous employees for Asha is it Asha or Aisha? Sorry, I don't really want to say it.
We'll figure it out.
Have been coming out, but he did send me one of them, and the person said she effed up Messenger at Meta with stupid plans, 3 initiatives, every one of them is trash, and she bailed out before the failure became obvious. Instagram to Messenger interop. Sorry, I don't have Facebook, so I don't know. Lightspeed and default messaging app on Android, 1 in thousands of man years of effort with 0 results to show for it. The plans look so stupid to everyone. She had no reasonable justification whatsoever. So used the term founder's courage as an excuse. It basically meant I have no justification other than blind faith. And sure enough, it was a disaster, which is par for the course for Messenger. But, it's hard to take stuff like that, because you get
you're always gonna have some employees who are gonna be like, yo,
you don't know the source for that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Right.
So.
But look, if I don't know, it's really hard to be a good boss. And,
I would just say that, like, when it comes to things like that, like I in every position, like even my company has like a particular site where I get to see people come in and vent who are employees or ex-employees and the things they got to say about certain people in certain positions. Like every company has that, especially in corporate America. I would just want to hope that someone who has made her mark in these different companies, these large companies between Meta, and made her way over into Microsoft, that there's more to that than just like, you were there and you must have been good, right? There's some investigation in terms of the level of competency and what they feel she could bring to the table, especially to promote her to something like that. Because otherwise, like, are you setting her up for failure, right? And why would she want to potentially accept a job that potentially is going to potentially doom her career? You know what I'm saying? Like, especially where it seems like you're ascending, right? You're getting these particular prominent positions at these large tech companies, and then all of a sudden you get into a position where they're setting you up for failure, where, like, you want this this business to do well, right? You've invested billions of dollars into it. It doesn't make sense to just basically put someone in it who's just going to, who just doesn't have the wherewithal to basically be successful. So I'll take some of those as a grain of salt. It's obviously they're not flattering ones, but I think that's the case for all people in leadership. You'll have this segment of people who are going to be like, how did you get promoted? So
there's all kinds of people that we work with, right?
Yeah,
like there's people who don't really do their job. And then when a boss comes in and it finds them and they're like, hey, bruh, then they hate them, right? Because they're like, it was status quo, leave me alone, right?
But nobody wanted Jim Ryan to succeed. Nobody wanted Herman Holtz to succeed when he took over. I'm sure there was problems. I don't really remember what it was like when Phil took over, but when Sarah took over, no one wanted her to succeed. They wanted to watch her fall on her face.
True. True.
I don't know anything about Asha. We're learning about her today. And of course, there's going to be people coming out of the woodwork that complain about what she has to do. But we can only assume that everyone's like, oh, Satya picked her, so she's going to do all of Satya's bidding. Well, Phil is already doing Satya's bidding for like 2 years. And that's where we're at.
Maybe he was doing some of his bidding begrudgingly. You know what I'm saying? Like slowing the you know what I'm saying? Slowing and she's just going to be like, whatever you say, Satya and Amy, whatever you say, let's go.
I mean, I think that's what Sarah was doing too. Like Sarah was like, she worked her way in to replace Phil at the head of Xbox gaming. And then she was, Satya's like, hey, what if we just do this multi-platform thing? Oh, sure, of course, hey, I want to show you I'm here to get it done. And they were probably helping increase their revenue streams by making those changes, but the fans are like, what the F? So I
mean, if that's the case though, then you would think that that Sarah would have been like that next in line, the heir apparent that we thought she was, to step up and do the Satya's, Sauron's bidding. But that didn't happen. So what happened there behind the scenes? Was it Sarah making? I tend to think this. I think Sarah was coming up with a lot of strategy changes and things that Satya then agreed with, and they haven't worked out in the way that that Sarah said they would. And I think that that's part of why she was given her marching orders. The Phil thing, I don't think you can say Phil was given marching orders. I'm probably going to cop it.
No, I think it was escalated, right? So it may not be marching
accelerated.
It was accelerated, right? It was like, hey, it's happening sooner than you were probably planning on making your exit.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I more look at it like Satya was like, we need to do this, and Tim Stewart was also like, we need to put our games everywhere. And what we heard, and I don't know how reliable it is, but it doesn't matter because Phil's gone and it never happened. Like it never changed, but what we heard was Phil like pushed against the like when Phil said it's just 4 games, not a signal what's to come. Like it's classic. That's been burned into my mind. He said that on camera in front of all those people, knowing he was probably going to be able to stand his ground, but that went away in 9 months. That was over. So it really doesn't matter as Phil leaves the Xbox division and possibly the games industry. I would predict that he's not going to go work at Tencent or with Sean Layden or anything, but it doesn't really matter at this point.
What's going to be really interesting is in say 5 years, once all the NDAs are sort of closed out, and then someone sits down with Phil and does an interview about what really went on.
Yeah,
like that's
what I'm. That's going to be an interesting or sit down a giant bomb interview or something like that.
That's one of the positives that I'm actually looking forward to out of this, because 110%, everything comes out in the end, right? Look at the 20 years. Xbox sort of outed themselves about what happened with those 20 years documentaries that they did, the short YouTube ones. And it'd be very interesting to see this tumultuous period that we've all covered so closely. Like, were we right about what we thought was happening behind the scenes, or at least that is a positive out of this. But this could end up being a positive down the road, right? So I've obviously stepped off into PC, which I thought I never would do.
Let me put things into perspective. Especially we have Riskit here, leader of this amazing podcast, the last console purist. Oh,
That ship is sailed for this guy. That guy can't claim that no more.
Asha takes over, and Xbox puts all their games on PlayStation, like Fable, Forza. As soon as the port's ready, like Gears E-Day, like that's done. Like we already know that's the future. So if we look forward with Phil gone, Xbox is going to make a ton of games. They're going to make their console. And if you're and this is like, I was talking to Fonz about this. It's kind of funny the way that we kind of clash when I talk about the console. He's adamant that no one's going to buy it. It only sell 5 million units. And I just keep saying, I don't care. I don't give a crap. They're going to make this thing. They're going to make money off of every unit. And I don't care if they sell 1 million or 12 million. I think they'll sell maybe 10 million. It doesn't matter because they've already designed this console. So Xbox is going to have all these games, 40 projects in the works. So you'll probably get at least 30 games out of those that don't get canceled or scrapped. So they have all these games coming, and then you have a console to look forward to at the end of 2027, which I heard is not being delayed. They're going to go forward. They've to charge a bunch of money so they don't care about the price hikes. This thing is going to be priced accordingly. And if you want it, there it is. So what is the future of Xbox? Are they going to get rid of Game Pass? I already told you earlier, I don't think they're going to get rid of it. They make $1 billion a year in profit margins. Going back to what you said earlier, Riskit, about will they pull games like COD out of the service? And I was going to ask Donte this as well. Like, how do you market? Game Pass gives you access to all our games plus, 300 or 400 games all the time for $30. How do you say, yeah, but not this one or these? Like, how do you say, we'll give you Keeper and we'll give you Kiln and we'll give you, but we're not going to give you like the biggest games. I'll just pretend like the ones that aren't out yet, but we're not going to put Fable in there. We're not going to put Gears E-Day. If it's like what we consider AAA, it doesn't go into Game Pass day and date. That's weird messaging, but then, Xbox can be a-holes sometimes. All they really have to say is, hey, here's your upcoming games for the 2 weeks. And you're like, why is Gears E-Day not on here? And they're like, well, that's not included in Game Pass. Sorry, but you can buy it for $70 or $80. And I think if you're worried about what Asia is going to do, worry about if they start making AI slop, which I think it's going to take a while for that to happen. If it does, like they have to be really careful about that. So
it's not going to just
coming.
AI is going to be everybody, not just Xbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
everyone.
An industry thing. Yeah.
Here's a thing
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was thinking about based off of something that was said in the comments earlier. I think it was Monette. He said that like she was a plant for Satya. I mean, but here's the weird part. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she is. Who knows? But a part of me understands that even Satya has things he has to answer to, which are shareholders, right? And so like he has to sit there and explain to like his investment in the gaming sector. And if that particular sector isn't bringing in the ROI that it needs to, that puts him on the hot seat to a degree as well. So having someone at the helm who's more in line to do what he feels needs to be done for that particular sector to perform the way it needs to makes sense to a degree as well, right? Getting someone in there who's going to basically get your games to as many places as you possibly can because you need to justify why you spent 80 plus billion between ABK and the other studios that you acquired. Right. Otherwise, shareholders are going to be like, hey, it's been four quarters in a row where Microsoft's numbers or Xbox numbers are basically lacking. Right. And you spent 80 plus billion on that. What's going on there? Right. He has, you can get voted out as a CEO. You know what I'm saying? You can get replaced as well. So, I mean, it doesn't seem too far fetched for him to want to get someone in there who's going to be more in line to how he wants the gaming business to be run.
That's a good point. So I would ask Riskit, as the last console purist, like you already kind of know where Xbox is heading with Asia at the helm and Sarah Bond gone. What are the biggest changes you expect from what you know now as Xbox? Or what do you expect, I guess, in general?
I see them hitting Game Pass with something. That's
reducing
the easiest.
Yeah,
reducing its value. It's the easiest low-hanging fruit to go after if you're in corporate. That's where I can make money for the company, improve my worth initially, and then I expect her to look at process, procedures, and workflows. If you were from the AI space, and from what I'm seeing, I haven't had a lot of research into this. Like she doesn't have a huge AI background, but she just obviously in the last couple of years has come into it, right? So if that's where things are going, that's what Satya wants. That's what you would start looking at. I would start looking at where we can improve workflows, where I can get rid of staff, what's working insofar as what studios are producing money, not producing quality, not producing great games, but which studios are producing money, and then start cutting. That's what you would do.
That's a really good point.
I expect to see layoffs, and lots of them in the coming years.
Well, layoffs are given, but looking at the 30 studios or 28 that are left over, and I'm working on a big video where I have a whole array of all the studios that are currently left over, and there are quite a few of them. It's crazy. This is like so dumb to say out loud, but if I was running things and they were like, what do you need to cut? I can look at some of those groups and go, man, some of these, they might need to go if we need to cut costs. I worry about layoffs. Hold on.
Worry about the coalition.
I'd expect layoffs and a couple of studio closures before they get rid of Game Pass or severely cut its offering.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing to worry about is the studios that you love. Like, worry about the coalition. Worry about Halo Studios, because these studios haven't really produced a lot of profit.
Studios?
Like, worry about those studios, because they haven't produced a lot of money for Xbox over the past decade. Let's be real, right? So if you're looking at them from Phil looks at them through the eyes of obviously business, but he also looks at them through the eyes of nostalgia and as a gamer.
They're the soul of Xbox, of the Xbox IPs. That's what he looks at, right?
But that's what he looks at, right? Yeah. But then she comes in and she's like, well, they may be the soul, but does Xbox really have much of a soul left? And just decides to rip that out because, hey, they're not making money. Gears isn't really in the zeitgeist. So let's look at new IPs. Let's do new things. Let's create new games. Let's create new big things. And what's the next trend that we're jumping on? And like I would be worried that she is going to start purely looking through a profit, P&L focused. This is what makes money, and this doesn't. That's what I would worry. That's what I would worry about.
In that case, though, I would say Compulsion is much more of a high risk target than Halo Studios, because Halo Studios knows how to make big games, which will produce a lot of money, especially if they go everywhere. And on top of that, they already have a bunch of games already in the queue that they could just go back and remaster, remake, boobity-boo, right? Like, there's a lot of legacy for them to pull on, whereas Compulsion, I mean, I love Double Fine so much, but I do worry about them, right? We know Kiln isn't their primary project. They have some other project going on, but like Keeper did not really move units, right? And like, I remember when they acquired them and Tim Schafer was like, did that whole video about how great it was because they didn't have quite the money to finish Psychonauts, and Xbox just came in and gave them everything they needed. And I don't know. It's just, I worry about the little guys a little bit more. I mean, the good little guys, right?
To Mo, just to shout out to Mo, Mo's like, what the F? You haven't, are you talking about haven't produced, get the F out of here. I'm not saying they haven't produced, dude. Like they've made some of the seminal games that have formed, that have gone on to influence the games industry, like huge games, Halo, Gears, like these are, but this is our mindset and we're gamers. We're not looking at this, we look at it from a slight business perspective, but she's coming in as maybe not a gamer, maybe she is, but coming in as not a gamer, coming in as a purely focused business person. Tag. Yeah. And I would worry. That would be a worry. I don't know if she's going to do that, right? But that would be a concern of mine, is the changes that I would see coming, is I would see a more focused on what makes money. So your live service games, your extraction shooters, your what's the next big thing, what's the trend. I would see her at that as her focus instead of really trying to give, and that's a publisher focus as well. I guess what you would expect to see from a publisher, not from a platform holder. And so instead of trying to set the trend and make the big games, sort of, bring in the money by following those trends. That would be a worry. I'm not saying it's going to happen, or it's not fully my expectation, but I expect we'll see some of that, 110%. And it's a concern for me.
I agree.
So question. Wait. So pivoting this just a little bit, because I was watching Xbox 2, and Cog and Addict and even Paris jumped in for a little while, and they were talking about Todd Howard, because they were saying that now that
retired too, right?
He's what? Sorry.
He's been planning to retire too for a while.
Well, they were saying now that Asha's coming in, and she's like, "Look, where's the money? We need money, right? Like, we need to make everything viable," which I'm sure is part of her large portion of her strategic plan.
Which was said before he came in as well.
Right. Yes. It is the continuing narrative. Yeah. It's not something new, unique to her, right?
Like viable as far as franchise. That was like 6 months ago. Hold on, I'll show you in this. And they're only going to be focusing on, there's Matt Booty's statement about 6 or 8 months ago. We're only going to concentrate on the sure bets, basically, of franchises. So like Keepers and Kilns are going to be like on their last thing. But go ahead, because you're perfectly explaining this.
Yeah. So they were just saying, like, we need money. Right? We need money to be coming in. Where are the big things, right? Like, we have big tentpole franchises. What are they? And they're looking at Todd, because Bethesda holds the keys to a lot of fortune, right? A lot of the dungeons are there, and they have all of the loot locked away in the chests. So they're like, Elder Scrolls 6 is great, but how far are you away with that? By the way, Todd, do you know what we're doing over on Amazon? We have this show called Fallout, and it's a pretty major success.
What are they're like 500 people though, right? Isn't that how big Bethesda is? Like 500 people? Like, I could have sworn that's what Todd said, right?
500 or 800 or something.
But it doesn't have to be Bethesda that makes Fallout or a Fallout spinoff.
Oh,
or literally anything that is Fallout related, because you have the Fallout hotness going on right now, and no game to come out and pivot or pair with it, right?
Yeah.
So they could say, hey, Bethesda, we'd like you to do something with Fallout because this thing is going. And I mean, and in all reality, like, the show will be over before they ever have anything out, right? Yeah. But that should have been when they had season 1 in production, they should have already had those conversations. But Todd's very protective of his IPs that he works on, right? Like, and that's why a lot of them been so successful. But he's like, no, this is what Paris and then we're talking about. They're like, no, I want to do Elder Scrolls. I'm in Elder Scrolls. We're in the thick of it. This is what I'm doing. And they're like, well, we're not going to wait for you to do Elder Scrolls and then do Fallout 5. It'll be 10 years, right? So you need to give it up. Let Obsidian or In Exile or what I've been saying the whole time, take a little baby from a little baby group from each of 3 of those studios and put them together and have them work on a Fallout, even if it is a spinoff, right? They all have the chops. All the studios have like some pedigree in Fallout. It could be a really great thing. And you could have it out at least on like the 3rd or 4th season of the show if you'd started
started a couple years ago.
Yeah. But
maybe
their point was that they were worried about like somebody coming in and just start like production line demanding, right? Yeah. For like a Bethesda, and not necessarily giving the respect to like the creativity, right? Or the producer that, like, obviously Todd is very good at his job, right? And has a lot of that vision and all that stuff. And he's given a lot of latitude because of the respect that he's earned. But
maybe
if you're all corporate and all money, you're not necessarily going to give that same latitude, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're in a weird position because on one side it's like, yes, what we need to be is a company that's putting out games, right? And so in order to do so, you got to have the games in the pipeline. On the other hand, you quite clearly said that the studios that you were acquiring, you're going to let them have their own autonomy to still basically make what they want, versus coming in, tell them, we need you guys to go ahead and produce X, right? So that you would be basically going back on probably what you told Todd and Bethesda when you brought them in, as to like, we won't come to you guys and say, stop what you're doing. You got to focus on this because this is really popular right now in the zeitgeist. So like, I get kind of like both sides for it. Like I think I fall more on side of the creator to not go ahead and forcefully put out something just because it could be easily monetized and because it's popular right now with TV or whatever. But at the same time, I understand like, anyone in the position of Aisha having to look at like, hey, what's gonna be sellers, right? What's gonna move units to keep our revenue numbers looking better when we see our reports. So
look, there is a concern there, but I do sort of want to wrap this topic and then quickly run through just a quick couple of games from the PlayStation thing, because there's one that I'm really, really excited about. But just on to leave it on a positive note, because there could be positives that come out of this, but I do want to leave it on a positive note. So I guess what I'd like to see, and I'm interested to hear what you guys would like to see out of this transition, is I'd like to see them get more ambitious with their games. Because she mentioned, she did talk a bit about the games, which is great. It was one of her first, the first paragraph, and everything stems from that. And then when you mentioned Avowed, when you mentioned Outer Worlds, I think there was an opportunity there to be a lot more. And I loved Avowed, and I'll go back to Avowed with the DLC and updates and stuff. But I'd like to have seen that be a little bit more ambitious. I think that was a that was a great game that had opportunity still within that game to be developed upon. And I would like to see them. I'd like to see her encourage the studios to go a little bit bigger, right, with these new IPs and take a little bit. She mentioned taking risk. I'd like to see that as the risk that she takes, making a bet on IPs that look like they have more legs in them. So that's what I'd like to see out of them. Colt, what would you like to sort of see out of this transition?
For the games?
For everything.
Oh, you mean?
Like,
yeah. I would like to see a really strong support for hardware, because if this is going to be the one Xbox to rule them all, and it'll be available to the hardcore PC players and everyone, they need to have strong support software-wise and technology-wise, and the games need to be really, really good ports on the system. And I want them to really push the studios to create something bigger and better. I think it's interesting that like some of these studios kind of get to do what they want, but I feel like the competition, and I'm not talking about PlayStation, the other bits of competition, publishers will push or platforms will push their studios to, like, they'll play the game, say, it needs a little more. And I'd like to see that, because it's taking forever for Xbox's games to come out, and they're still delaying them. And then they have these fantastic games like Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed and South of Midnight that are like so cool, but they're obviously missing things that any review team in the executive would look at those and go, it needs this and it needs this, and then you got a full package. I want to see that attention and QA/QC to detail and a strong push on their hardware, because it's going to be a big part, especially if they're going to have other OEMs, other manufacturers making their devices that will support their ecosystem. And they've been so hands off. Everyone's like, you don't support the core fans, you don't support the hardware. And I think that's what they need to do. I need to see that.
Yeah, 100%. Just Victoria and Lindstein, and you made a good point, which I want to jump quickly to Super Chats and then jump up to Donte and Holly about what they want to see going forward. But Victoria Lindstein, we did cover this. She said, talking about building games once, does that mean, you're obviously going to have to port to PlayStation. So that was an interesting thing to say. Like, how are you going to build one version of the game without making a port for PlayStation? Be very interesting to see what that means. That could mean a number of things. It could mean PlayStation's making moves as well, and they know something about that. It could mean that there's no more there's exclusivity coming back. Yes, I doubt that. But it could mean a number of things. We don't know, but it'd be a very interesting world for every developer if you only had to build one version. You're talking about shaving months, if not maybe a year off each development cycle. So that is exciting if she can bring that to fruition. If that's an AI improvement, great. I wouldn't call that slop. Let me quickly jump to these super chats because they came in, start of the show, and we haven't jumped on them. So real quick, Lotus Esprit, shout out to you. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. I do apologize. The content's been sparse. Work's been crazy. Things are starting to settle down. So hopefully those memberships will have more value coming up. Lotus Esprit with the $10. Super chat says, Blue Number, I finally chose a handheld before prices skyrocketed. Originally, ROG Ally Z1 Extreme for $400 through Best Buy online. Awesome. Good price. Good time to jump on PC gaming now, if it's through a handheld or it's through a laptop or it's through anything. I think now is sort of your opportunity to get in. Otherwise, it's going to be a long haul for a couple of years. So, like I said, I managed to squeeze my $15,000 rig down to 11. So, yeah, just be frugal. Lotus Esprit with the 2 gifted memberships, one for Noe's Mofo and ThatBlueNumber. Welcome to the memberships, Blue. Holly, speaking of you, positive that you'd like to see, or multiple positives that you'd like to see from this transition. Like, what would you like to see? Asha? Asa?
Asha.
What positives do I want to see from her leadership? I'm fine with the multi-plat thing. I don't care. And that genie is never going back in the bottle. It's on its way. The ship has sailed. What I would like to see is for Asha to take a vested interest in learning about the history of Xbox and the community aspect of Xbox, because they are the small. Any genie can go back in any bottle. Have faith, says Special Nick. Sorry, got distracted. What I would like to see is for her to just sort of take a holistic view of what has worked, what hasn't worked, and to try to learn from a non-gamer perspective how to balance pure profit margins and initiatives from that, but also from the consumer side, because I think sometimes a lot of that gets lost, especially when you have overlords who are money, 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 money. I don't care what it happens. Money, 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 right? Because you need to have a balance, especially when you are the small fish in the room, to your profit margin and your consumer look. They really need to revamp their image. She needs to find a way to revamp Xbox's image because it's been raked over the coals. So while you have these great studios, while you have all of these very promising projects in the works, as far as the brand, it's in rough waters, and it just really needs some TLC. It really needs some consistency. They need to find what they're going to do, and they need to just settle in on it for a good amount of time, and to build that consistency, to build some respect back on the name, and to rebuild the consumer facing options for it. That would be and obviously I'm selfish. I want to go back to fan fests in LA. I want there to be fan fests in LA. So I want I want that back. I want some consumer, and fan-based community stuff. Even if it's in a different form, it would be nice if they would find a way to do some sort of community-based building, trust building, whatever you want to call it, right? But that's my thought. Is it really, like, beyond producing good games, you need to rebuild the brand aesthetic and the brand name and the brand confidence, because it's very low to non-existent right now.
They could set up FanFest in LA with like a bunch of tables, and there'd be like a bunch of phones and tablets, and AI could like talk to us when we get there. That'd be amazing.
Well, I think they could do AI. I think they could do FanFest on the cheap, right? You could do Seattle on Satia's cricket pitch and have some tea and crumpets, right? whatever they need to do, you know. But they could do it on the cheap. It doesn't need to be in the most expensive city in America. I spent $100 on McDonald's.
If they're gonna do that stuff, they need to rotate it and not only have it in LA every time, every year. I get it. 100%. It's there because that's where Keighley is and it's the same time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be at the same time as Keighley. They could rotate it around the country. I guarantee you there's a lot of other places that are way cheaper than flipping LA.
Right. Ohio. Go to Ohio. Donte. Have it in a hayfield or a cornfield. I don't know what they grow in Ohio. I know they farm though. What's your so going forward? What positive change? Have it in Texas. Like literally, when you celebrate, we could all fire guns in the air. That'd be awesome. Oh like the old West, wear cowboy hats. Sorry, tangent. What would you like to see in the way of positive change going forward with this transition?
I mean, you gotta at this point you just gotta steady the ship, man. I mean, for real, you gotta steady the ship, and you gotta stop. Don't make certain statements if later those promises are gonna be broken or you have to change it. I know it's not always under the control of the person who's at the helm, as you know, they have people that they answer to, but you know, stick with things that are within your control. So focus on whatever the next Xbox is going to be. If that's going to be like a premium console, then by all means, make sure it delivers. Make sure it's a differentiator from the PlayStation, so that way you're justifying why it might be the more expensive console. If that's what happens, if they're not going to take a loss on it. I think you need to kind of don't chase trends. Right? Don't do that thing where you're chasing trends and trying to be on whatever the next thing is that just happen to make money at that particular time. Like I get it, but you don't want to like stifle the creativity of the studios that you have, because once you start doing that, and if everybody's making the same type of games, then what's the point? Then everyone's just picking between one no life game that's doing a particular trend that's popular at the time. And I think to me that's someone made a tweet about did microtransactions kill gaming, and I think like, yeah, maybe to a degree, but the no life games are killing gaming in my opinion, where everyone's just getting bogged down into playing as one type of thing versus enjoying the content that's out there that the great game makers are actually making. Someone even posted in our chat about like there's a lot of games inside of Game Pass that aren't being played, and they're like, yeah, because people are playing no life games. You're not getting out there and enjoying it. So foster your developers to get great games out there, unique ideas for people to maybe step away from their no life games, I mean, just try to and really focus on trying to correct the brand name. There's a lot of damage that not through every fault of Xbox. I know some stuff is just basically it is what it is, but however you gotta do to try to curb that and correct it and turn things around to get it to be a looked at in a more positive light. I think that could help you as well, because I think there's a lot of great games that released on Xbox through even through Game Pass, etc. over the years, that because of the fact that they were released on Xbox, they got undue shit, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? Where people were trying to crap on it a little bit because of the fact that it was on Xbox. If it had released first on PlayStation, people probably would have been cool with it, or if it was multi-platinum, everyone would have sang its praise. And it's rare where the game releases through Xbox first that just was undeniable, like Expedition, right? Which is undeniable. They couldn't do anything about it, even though it released first inside of Game Pass. So
Game Pass, yeah.
Changing that perception, I think, would be very useful to the brand, where people are just kind of like, you want people to be like, I do want to be sub to that service because this game is releasing in there and it's cool and it's okay to be able to own whatever the next Xbox is because it's freaking dope. It's really, really powerful and it, kicks butt. So like that's what I think she's up against, and wish her all the best.
Yeah, and she is up against it, right? So yeah, she is up against it. There's a lot of not in here in this chat, but there's a lot of negativity towards the brand. I mean, hell, even Xbox Era rebranded. Sorry, Nick, couldn't help myself. Love the new rebrand, by the way. I was like, that was awesome. I loved it. And it does make sense because, same reason I rebranded from Xbox Infinite to the Infinite is because, we talk about everything. We don't just talk about one thing. And on that note, please hit the like button, share us out. We go live every second week. thank Colt for joining us. I just want to talk about one game from this PlayStation. That I was like, this looks awesome. And I was pretty hyped for the PlayStation State of Play. And I think they needed a good one. And this is Project Windless. It's a massive chicken, just going absolutely ham and cutting things to shreds. And this to me, I was like, oh, this looks great. And I don't even know if this is on Xbox because I was like in the thick of work when this game dropped. But this looks absolutely fantastic. I was like, wow, this is great. So I guess there was a lot of games at the State of Play for me to get excited about and that I was super hyped for. That will 110% be on PC, and I'm not now, but I will soon be in that ecosystem. And so, yeah, I think it was a good State of Play. There was a lot of third party. I guess you can look at it from different perspectives, but I think they had enough there. You know, they had the remakes of God of War coming, which we heard rumors about, way back. They showed some really good third party. There wasn't a whole lot of first party. That was super cool, but I think there was enough there, right? So for me, I think this is probably the best State of Play they've had. Well, this generation, easily, and I would definitely give it a. It's got to be an 8, man. For me, it was an 8. I'm like this particular game just tickled my fancy, and I was like, right, you just got a couple extra points out of this game, like a massive chicken fighting monsters, masses of them, big boss fights. I was sold on this. So, Cole, I didn't get a chance this week because I was so flat out where I was to watch the show, and I normally do after the fact if I can't make it in live, which has been the case unfortunately last quite a few. But what did you think about this State of Play? Do you think it was a sort of a step towards returning to form for their State of Plays?
Yeah, I think it was the best one they've shown yet, and it was front loaded with their first party stuff, and then the middle Japanese stuff. I'm always like, they do it. Yeah. Every show does it, but then the rest of the pacing was really great. And of course, I saw a bunch of games. I'm like, are those going to be on PC? Are those going to be on Xbox? Like, it's always a question you want to know because millions of fans want to know. And then they ended with more of their own first party stuff. That was kind of hit or miss, but I thought the show was really good. And they've been due for a while. I mean, I've been telling people publicly that the games industry is doing really great when it comes to the games. Like, the game's been fantastic, but everything else is absolute turmoil. But yeah, PlayStation did a good job. I think they're still trying to find where they need to be. But I mean, it's really important to make a show like that and have it like keep you interested all the way along, an hour and 10 minutes. And I think they did a pretty good job. So I found a couple of games like that Crimson Moon you were talking about when I joined, and the no one knows the name of the game, but the Crazy Chicken game looks awesome. I don't know if I'll play something like that. Yeah, Project. Yeah. And so I was pretty happy with that for sure.
Yeah, and the pod racing, they're bringing that back as well. So I was like, we'll probably play this just for the nostalgia. This is like a jazzed up, the original PlayStation pod racer. So I was like, yeah, I'll go with that. There was a lot of stuff. I was like, yeah, I would play that. I'd play that. Holly, how are you feeling about the State of Play?
I thought this was a really good State of Play. I really enjoyed it. There, of course, like Colt said, there's some that are not for me, but that's perfectly fine, right? Because there's all kinds of people who play all kinds of games. So as long as I thought the pacing was really good on this, when there was a game where I was like, this is a little too anime for me, the next thing you know, there's something that's like, oh, wait, okay, what is this, right? And probably completely the opposite for people who enjoyed the anime games. So that's the point, right? Is I think it reached a broad audience. I thought they showed a lot of really interesting, really cool games. There were some new trailers and other information for some of the games that we did know about, but hadn't necessarily seen, like that Control that you were talking about. Really good. I very much enjoyed it, and it felt like a really nice show. But you didn't talk about John Wick, which was like the super highlight for me.
Yeah, I mean, it looked a little janky, and I'll jump to it in a minute. But But I think you made a really good point there with the third parties. And earlier in the generation, I think they would show a trailer for a game with a little bit more, footage for a game we already knew about, but they wouldn't really give you too much more information. I think with this one, what they did really, really, really well was like you said, with Control, they gave you some more information about what's going to be in the game and what's going to happen. That's interesting that you wanted to see. Even with Bomb, they didn't give a whole lot more information, but they gave some more story beats. So you've got a bit of a, it's adding a little bit more to the excitement instead of just showing you some more footage of stuff you've already that you kind of already knew with nothing new. Yeah, I think it was fantastic. Donte, how did you feel about the show overall?
Thought overall it was pretty good, man. I think it's been one of their better shows too. Especially last year's wasn't too bad, but this one I thought was one of the better ones over the last 5 years. So I don't know if it's a complete return to form for them, but I mean, we'll know if the next one's really good, right? Like so far, like I think Xbox has been doing pretty good with their shows that they've been doing with their what do they call those things? What's Xbox called? Showcases, right?
The directs.
Yeah, and the directs, right? And they've been doing that at a pretty consistent clip for like the last 4 or 5 years. So if PlayStation, if the next one and the next one is back, then we can say it's on form, back to form. But yeah, I thought the one that they showed was pretty good. There's a good combination of games and a few games that I do that thing where I can sit there and look at and say, yeah, I'd play that. Then if you can get me to look at a few and say that, I think you did your job. So.
Yeah. And look, there was John Wick. There was so much. I was fully impressed, man. And I know a lot of people have been
the actual gameplay of this John Wick game, though. The actual. You know what I'm saying? This is just like CGI.
Yeah, it could be good. Do you know who I wanted to do? Who I would love to see? Would have loved to have seen make this? The guys who did that Kung Fu game.
Sifu.
I can't remember Sifu. Yeah. If those they are the perfect guys to make this game. I don't think it's them. So.
You know who would have been good?
Who?
If they had given this to either like Raven or Sledgehammer, that would have been cool. You know what I mean? Let them spin off and do something, because they would make a fantastic, super sharp looking game with tight combat. That would have been
agreed.
Cool.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, but I don't know if they can do the melee side. Well, yeah, I mean,
of course they can.
Yeah. Faith in Call of Duty. I mean, Marathon looked amazing. God, it's dead. And this was like the low light of the show. Yeah, look, I think it was a great show. Fantastic. I've always been pretty critical of PlayStation State of Plays this entire generation. So, I think this just sort of goes to show that I think there's a movement towards form. Donte, we'll see. Look, we got to wrap it up. We've sort of running into, I think, nearly 3 hours at this point. So, been a fantastic show. It's good to finally be back, and hopefully we'll have some more normalcy. Not hopefully, we will have some more normalcy, being able to go live every second week, and maybe we can again have another conversation about what we do in the interim. Cole, thanks for coming through and talking about this significant change to Xbox. Hopefully it ends up being positive, but obviously everyone knows where to find you is in the chat. But please let people know where they can find you and what's coming up in the near future.
Yeah, I'm Colt Eastwood on YouTube. I put out a video, I don't know, about 2 hours ago. If you want to hear all of my thoughts and hear exactly what all of these executives coming and going had to say about it, and some editorials in between, which said a lot of stuff that needed to be said for a long time. So thanks for your support. It's good to hang out with you guys. Thanks for having me here, even though I just walked in. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for coming through, bro. It's always great to have you here, man. Donte, let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, all that good stuff.
Hey, shout out to the chat, man. Appreciate you guys for rocking out with us for this very long, because this is one of the longer shows. So we appreciate you guys for all coming through. Catch me on the socials, Donte J Moody, and I hope you guys have a very good weekend. And let's all hope the best for Asha, for us Xbox fans, and for the brand. Catch you guys later. Peace.
Harley, let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to. What's the next streaming thing? How was God of War? I know you loved it. It's fantastic. 10 out of 10. Thank you for giving it that score. Appreciate it. And where they can find you and all that good stuff.
7.5, right? Was it 7.5?
I gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Heresy.
Don't come at me. God of War is a really, really cool game. I don't feel like it's all for me, but I did enjoy my time in it. That's it. 7.5. So ThatBlueNumber. Yeah, you can find me and come follow my channel. I have a little thing going on, but if I am available on Thursday night, if everything goes well on Thursday night, I might be streaming Marathon with Meg for the server slam and maybe another friend or two. But I think we're going to try to play the server slam and see what happens and see if it's worth $40. So if you're interested, come and follow me and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I can answer that question for you now. It's not. 6.5, Mo. No, it's not. It is. That game is a 10 out of 10. It was the game of the generation, last generation. IGN said so, so it must be true.
Red Dead
They never
better.
lie. No, it wasn't. Although, the horses had shrinking components to it. So, I mean, that was the dangly bit shrank in the cold. So, I mean, that's attention to detail. I respect that. It was a fantastic show. Thank you to all of you guys coming through and giving your takes. Thank you to the chat. You guys have been absolutely amazing. You can find everyone who was on the show today down in the description. Head down and click those links. Thanks for coming through, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.